really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out the books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities that never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them, this is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman, y'all but not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit, I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah, said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah, I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch out step in it, yeah, and I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here, watch out touchdown, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now, have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that, big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that, work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out the books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities that never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them, this is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman, y'all but not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit, I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah, said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah, I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch out step in it, yeah, and I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here, watch out touchdown, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now, have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that, big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that, work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no wins, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off.
Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. Jason is laughing because he just got cursed out by me. And we appreciate everybody
And
that's
I
currently
almost
in the
cussed
building.
them out back.
You didn't get the opportunity to do that, now did you? And now we live. You can't be cussing me out while we're live. So we got 28 people in the building. If you get the opportunity, go ahead and hit that like button. I got my guy, Team Gill, in the building. That's my guy, Team Gill. He has my personal information, so we connect. What's going on, Team Gill? Salute to everybody in the chat. Oh, yeah, there go my guy. Jay, let's get it, fellas. Just finished my fantasy ball draft just in time. All right, man. So first and foremost, let me start off, Jason, tell you the truth again. I don't know what that means. So let's start off by giving love to the people that support the channel, Rock Dog Interactive. Rock Dog is all things that have to do with, websites. If you need your logos done, if you need anything technical, Rock Dog Interactive, they can help you out. And then we got Black Father Figures. That's my guy, the League of Legacies. I'm going to pause and say hello to Gina because Gina is a member. And you should consider becoming a member of AM Sports Media, supporting the channel. That's how we put out this great content. So hello, Gina. How are you today? And then finally, we got Nadaj Vodka. Nadaj Vodka is the latest to support the channel, be a sponsor of the channel. Great Kiwi-based vodka, incredible vodka. I've actually had some a little bit earlier. And just a great vodka. Go check out Nadaj Vodka, www.nadajvodka.com, and buy yourself a bottle. Fantastic vodka. You don't want to miss it. And it's a premium vodka. But at the same time, it doesn't have a premium price tag. So with that being said, Jay, I'm going to go ahead and let you salute the chat for a minute, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
So you want to address the chat?
So let's see who we got in the chat here. We missing some people, the usual suspects, such as Jason Williams, and then and Brian Mendoza.
He'll be in there soon.
As usual. Oh, Jason Williams, yeah, he'll be here in a little bit. But yeah, guys, we had some boxing last night, which is great.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do this before we jump into that. We got Jake Donavan in the building, a boxing scene. What's going on with you, Jake?
What's up, guys? Yo, I'm sorry, man. I messed up the time. I thought it was 4:30 for some reason. I completely missed the part.
Oh, man.
My bad, man.
It's all good, Jake.
You good,
It's
Jake.
all good. We appreciate you.
Nah,
we appreciate you for joining. Absolutely. So, Jay, we want to start off the show essentially, asking you questions because we know that you're following the sport in detail. And we want to start off talking a little bit about the rematch clause with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Now, there's rumors that are out there currently that Spence has initiated the rematch clause. I don't know if that's true or not. We did a video on it earlier, and I wanted to make sure that we asked you that question while we had the opportunity to do so. So what's your thoughts on that?
Okay. I've seen the same rumors that you have. I don't know how true they are. I've asked about it. I have not heard back yet. And I've heard two different explanations on the rematch clause. Both versions are that he was going to wait until take it until the very end, basically until there's 2 or 3 seconds left on the clock before he makes his decision. Now, the question is whether it's a 30-day deadline from the time of the fight or 30 business days, which I honestly never heard of in a boxing contract. I mean, business days are Saturday nights for us, right?
Right.
I don't know what business day is supposed to be, but suppose if that's the case, he would have, I think, until right around September 11th to execute that rematch clause if he wants to. I'm getting very mixed signals on it. It seems like from the Crawford side, they believe, I don't know if they believe or if they've heard that he's not going to execute it. I heard that he likely will, but if I had to I'd put it maybe 52-48 that he's going to exercise the rematch clause. I know a lot has been made that he, this was going to be his last fight at 147, even if he won, and that, he feels he'll feel better at 154. But I don't know what his decision is going to be at this moment. I have not been given a clear answer on whether or not he's going to execute it. I happen to think he will, but I don't like speaking for other people, especially Errol.
Yeah,
he values his privacy.
Jay, can I ask you this? I heard earlier today that the contract states that Terence Crawford or the winner has the opportunity to dictate what weight the rematch is actually fought at. Is that true?
That is correct. Yeah. So the losing fighter has the right to invoke the rematch clause. The winner has the right to determine whether it takes place at welterweight, 154. Now, that said, and Bud is a man of his word. I mean, other than all the nonsense that went on, trying to get the fight, over the line last year. Yeah. Once he finally got here, now, he's seen all the benefits of, what came from fighting Errol and what could possibly come from rematch. He is on record saying he is perfectly fine with this fight taking place at 154. And if all the sanctioning bodies are fine with it, I don't see what would be lost from that. So if there is a rematch clause, I mean, if the rematch does take place, I do fully expect it to come at the junior middleweight limit.
Let me ask you a question on that. I'm sorry. Let me ask you one. I'm sorry, Jay. Let me ask one question before you get your. You said the sanctioning bodies being okay with that. Why would the sanctioning bodies have a say so at a fight at 154? The titles wouldn't be on the line at welterweight. So why does that matter? That's
the problem. Boots Ennis is the IBF mandatory. Stanionis is the WBA mandatory. I believe Keith Thurman is still the WBC mandatory. The only one he's not on the hook for. Actually, Alexis Rocha was originally ordered as a WBO mandatory, and then they sat back on that once everyone caught wind that the undisputed fight. Once the sanctioning bodies realize there's a chance at undisputed, they will lay back. So and that was the case. But he has 4 mandatories that are due right now. Right. So maybe they'll let business take place. And here's the other thing I wanted to go with too. If this rematch takes place, I don't see nothing being at stake, even if at junior middleweight. I get the sense that maybe Errol's going to go talk to Jamel. He's already prepared to let go of his WBO belt, even though he's talking a little bit of stuff about it, in the media. He knew that was going to be the case if he didn't fight Tszyu. Right. I am now curious. Look, Errol's ranked number 3 in the WBC. Maybe he lets that WBC belt slide. Brian Mendoza is now fighting Tszyu. He will presumably be fighting him for the full WBO belt. So instead of allowing that to be a unification bout, maybe Jamel decides, I'm going to let Errol go fight Bud for this WBC belt. That's just a hunch. I don't have any inside information on that, but I just don't see them take. I mean, we already got the fight. They held on to all the belts just to give us the undisputed championship when they could have fought for nothing, really. If any fight could have been with nothing at stake, just the two of them fighting for pound rights, it would have been that first fight. They made a point to fight for undisputed. I just don't see nothing being at stake in a rematch.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, Jay. I cut you off.
No, you stole my question.
I'm sorry.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. Let me ask you this, Jake. So the first fight was, and I know that you were leaning towards Terence Crawford. I don't know if you ever gave your final prediction, but I know you were leaning towards.
Hold on. I'm gonna take a victory lap on this one. I actually predicted that Bud would win by 9th round knockout, and that I didn't think it would be as dominant. But my exact prediction was that he's going to reach a point, he's going to take over and never look back and stop him in the 9th round. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's exactly where I was going. Was did you think it was going to be so dominant? And let me ask you this follow-up question. With it being so dominant, do you think that there's really going to be a demand for the rematch? And I know that there's a lot of stuff that's out there. Hell, we put something out there in terms of Errol Spence having a rib injury going into the fight. That's what we got from somebody who we know has some contact from the Errol, or at least has a contact in the Errol Spence camp. Have you heard that? And do you believe that this rematch is actually sellable?
I'm going to go backwards on this. Okay, I do think it's going to be the most sellable fight for either one of them. I don't believe it'll do the same business as the first one because it was so dominant. We saw that with the drop-off in Fury Wilder 2 and Fury Wilder 3, and that was even with a 1.5-year gap, and with Deontay having to sue him, but force litigation and for it to go to an arbitrator just to get the fight that third fight made. And that fight became more competitive, but it wasn't as big of a draw as the rematch was. That rematch was like the perfect storm, a great promotion, and like the third fight didn't even come close to touching that. This fight taking place 5 months after what was essentially a one-sided fight in July. It was my favorite promotion. I thought the two of them handled it with the utmost class. I expect the rematch to be the same way. Errol's been a man. Everyone's making excuses for him. He hasn't made a single excuse yet, and I don't expect him to do so going into a rematch. So I don't see it doing the same business, but I'm also on record saying, look, it's Errol's career, it's his life. If he wants to decide to go, run it back 5 months later, that's look, I'm in an air-conditioned house right now. I have no right how to tell him nothing. So he can go do that. Bud, he knows that's the biggest bag for him, so they can go chase it. I don't see it having the same impact that, it was the case 5 months ago. This is like the fight we've been waiting for 5 years, and for world supremacy, and, with people ranking Bud number 1 pound for pound supremacy as well. So, the stakes are considerably less going into a rematch. No, I did not see that fight being as dominant. The way Bud, a pound for pound fight, you always expect it to be competitive to a certain point until, one guy eventually takes over, or just another guy finds a way to win. Bud made, he was a notorious slow starter, but he made those adjustments very early. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. And I expected him to win, but not at that level of dominance. That was a huge surprise to me.
Yeah, that was our take as well. Although we picked Spence, we felt it was going to be a close fight. We didn't see either fighter dominating the other fighter like that.
Right.
It just came out. But it did its thing.
Let me ask you one last question in regards to these two gentlemen, then we're going to move to a different topic. Did you also hear about that rib injury, Jake? Was that something that was on your radar?
I did hear about it after the fact. Several people have actually, brought it to my attention. But again, I'm following Errol's lead on it. Look, I think the world of Errol. Actually know his family. One of his uncles used to have his, haircut. My brother-in-law opened up the very first fade shop where Errol used to live when he lived in Long Island. Only for a year, but his family's, So anyway, I've always been very, not necessarily biased towards Errol, but he's always had like a soft spot in my heart for him. Like I'm, impartial as a reporter, but Errol, I think the world of him. So look, he's been adamant about his daddy raised him to not make any excuses. So I'm gonna follow his lead on that.
Gotcha. Jay, what topic you want to go to next in terms of asking Jake some inside questions or what he's heard in terms of what's going on in the sport?
We had a lot of stuff dropped these past few days.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff came out. I mean, I did have a side question for you, Jake, about this overtime boxing. I've been missing that. I saw you've been tweeting about it. Give us a little bit more inside information about overtime boxing, what it is and where it can be seen and whatnot.
So it's like a new concept. The creators, they're like very big in basketball and other mediums, and they're just trying to bring that attention to boxing. They signed a bunch of fighters. I want to say it's about 30 fighters that they've added to their roster. They had a 4-fight series it was every Friday in August at the OTX Arena in Atlanta. Little intimate, 1,200 seat venue. Really cool concept. Competitive fights for the most part. We saw a few. I think we saw at least one upset every single week in all 4 shows. So
okay,
that's always a good thing. It's not complete blowouts in every single fight. One thing I love about them, Jake Paul, I think does the same thing on his shows. Is they have a knockout bonus. So you're seeing guys go for that knockout. I still don't know the full terms. I don't know if it's a knockout bonus if you get it at any time. It seems like fighters are really going all in the final round. To try to get that bonus. But yeah, it's like I said, I really like that concept. They're going to be coming back in 2024. It's going to be strictly a prospect-based series. I don't know if there's going to be plans for expansion, but it does sound like they want to do a lot more than what was the case. This was like a 4-week trial run. So
okay,
cool series. I don't know if it's coming back on DAZN though. I don't know if that part is solidified. It could wind up on another platform, but I think they did make their mark enough to where even if it's not on DAZN, someone else would be willing to pick it up as long as they could fund it. Or, I'm sure they have the social media platform to do it themselves. I think they showed that they can run these fights. I thought the shows were all done very well. There's a few things that could be cleaned up. The zone I thought was a little very sloppy actually. And its production value, that's something I would like to see, overtime get involved with. I mean, you had Carmelo Anthony, he's intimately involved. Shaquille O'Neal is reaching out to these fighters. So it's guys who normally aren't on anyone's radar early in their career, now suddenly they're capturing, the attention of, major, celebrities. So like I said, that's always a great thing for the sports. I really like what they're trying to accomplish.
That's pretty. Yeah, overtime they do real big with the basketball league too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the same venue where they hold those games. Yeah, they held all 4 shows. So I don't know if that's going to be the case in. I think for at least when they come back in January, it's probably going to be that same venue, unless they have plans for expansion. But like I said, I like what I've seen from them so far, and we saw a big upset in the main event on Friday. Chuck Simpson lost.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so I was a little surprised. I thought they were going to give it to him. Then watching it back, okay, I could see how Vladimir Hernandez got that. Another big upset for Vladimir Hernandez though. So big learning lesson for Truck.
Yeah. Also, so there was some other boxing going on this weekend. Was it a low blow? And I'm speaking of, for anyone that didn't see it, the Usyk and Daniel Dubois fight last night.
All right. So I'm going to say, look, I totally get why people are defending Dubois. We're seeing the still shots. It's like, you saw how, not that they were massively high, but the Usyk's trunks were higher than like where the normal borderline would be. So yes, if that was acknowledged during the pre-fight instructions, and then you saw where Dubois' punch landed, I get the argument that yes, it should have been a legal blow. I don't Usyk would have been knocked out. We don't know that. That's the sad part. A count was never issued. We don't know if Usyk would have jumped up and started doing his stupid jazzercise or whatever dancing does, while taking that count, or maybe he just would have stayed down the full time. It's clear, we've seen it in past fights. It's his body is his weakness. So, and Dubois was, I thought, was on the path to exploiting that up until that sequence happened, and then like all the air came out of the balloon after that. But because referee Luis Pabon, who I'm not going to say he's the worst referee in the sport, but he, as far as referees who wind up in championship fights, he is among the worst in that field. I don't know why he keeps getting assignments. He never identified where was the legal line. He should, Dubois' camp should have even raised that issue. Don Charles made a huge stink about, how his fighter was cheated. It's like, well, ask that during, that's, that final moment. They always ask, do you have any questions? That should have been the question. Where his trunks are, is that the legal border? Can we hit here? But that was never established. So the default line became his, the waistband. And every still shot you see, there's a portion of his glove that lands under that waistband. And other, when you watch it in real time, the punch actually, hits low and pushes everything up. So it's a judgment call at that point. To me, it's like, I know they want to file an appeal now. They want to have the verdict overturned. I don't know if you guys watch baseball at all, but it's the equivalent of trying to argue balls and strikes. It's like an umpire calling ball 4 on what should have been a strike 3 to decide a game is not going to change a win or loss for a team. I don't see what's coming out of this. To me, it's more telling because going in, like all this crap talk, came up again about Fury and Usyk, undisputed, which I knew was never going to be the case. The fact that Frank Warren is trying to push for a rematch tells me that, we're never going to see that undisputed fight, that they know Usyk is going to have to fight Filip Hrgović, as I reported last night.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, man.
So Jake, switching topics. So Shakur Stevenson, we predicted this, or at least I predicted it. Jason doesn't necessarily predict anything correctly, but so as far as hey, listen, Jason, it's true. So I predicted that Frank Martin would be the next opponent in line for Shakur Stevenson. I thought that fight would be made just because of Zepeda and Cruz. Zepeda already has a fight. Cruz not necessarily interested in fighting Shakur Stevenson and chasing that big fight with Gervonta Davis. So do you think this fight is going to get made? And, Shakur was on another platform talking about, he was in negotiations with a fighter that was a contender. We assume that that's Frank Martin. What's your thoughts on that?
So I've had a lot of people in the past couple of weeks, like people who actually are very good about, providing me with the tips when, I'm able to break news. I wish I can credit them, but they don't want the credit. They just want to feed me these scoops. Yeah. And they were the ones, this fight is done. I'm telling you now, this fight is done. I've asked around. Both sides claim, they pled ignorance. They claimed they didn't know what they were on. It turned out it was just, the WBC was in the process of ordering it. And to your point, it makes sense. The only, Vasily Lomachenko already said he's done. He's not fighting for the rest of the year. I was a little surprised by that. I just happen to think he doesn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson for a vacant title. I think he's waiting for that WBO belt to become free, maybe hopefully get an easier route that way. Mm-hmm. So once Vasily was, pushed out the paint, then it was Shakur number 2, Isaac Cruz number 3, Frank Martin number 4. Isaac Cruz's team, they actually confirmed to me last night and again today, they reiterated they are really, really pushing hard to get that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but they are pushing hard to get that Gervonta Davis rematch next. Yeah. I thought they would go the IBF route, especially with Gustavo Lemos, who is the mandatory challenger. He completely blew weight for what was supposed to be a stay busy fight. So the IBF might move him out the way. He might not be the mandatory, which that would clear a path for Isaac Cruz. But obviously, for any lightweight, the biggest payday is, versus Gervonta Davis. They think the rematch is sellable. They're still convinced that they won the first fight. I love his team to death, especially Sean Gibbons. He did not win that fight. And Tank, as we know, he hurt his hand. So it's like, I just don't see, we're talking about, Bud and Spence. If the second fight's going to be any different, maybe it's going to be a little more competitive. I think a rematch for Isaac Cruz is going to be even worse because we're going to get a full at-strength Gervonta Davis.
I agree. Totally agree.
But that's the reason why so I know originally he was, there was supposed to be a fight for the Eliminator. Isaac Cruz passed on that because he wanted to go another route. Now he's holding out for that, that Tank rematch. So now we're getting Shakur and Frank Martin. And look, with PBC, it's like every lightweight that's there, they're going to want to fight Tank. They think they have, that next shot. That's probably the only other option for Frank Martin if he's in that mix. But, he seems like he does want this fight. So I don't see PBC pulling. I think it's going to be a very competitive purse bid. I don't think they're going to reach a deal. I think they're going to go to a purse bid, and then PBC and I guess TGB and Top Rank are going to bring their checkbook. And, I think both fighters stand to make a very big payday out of this. Top Rank already has a November 16th date reserved. It's during, I'm not a car racing fan, the Formula One, F1, whatever series that's going to be in. I think it's the first time in Vegas. I know when I was there in June, I saw the track that's actually being built right near the Virgin hotels. So Top Rank is going to do a show out there that Thursday. And Shakur, for now, is supposed to headline it. If they win the purse bid, it would be on that date. And, ESPN is already willing to invest heavily, in such a fight. So I do believe it's going to happen. And I'm glad it is because it was even the lead of my story that we don't see very many fights, if any at all, really, between Jay Prince fighters and Al Heyman fighters. So this is, to my knowledge, it's, if it's not the first, it's, definitely the most significant for any such fight in, I don't know, at least 10 years.
Who was Chad Dawson with when he fought Andre Ward?
He was not with Heyman at the time. He was with Gary Shaw, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, gotcha. And what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we saw Frank Martin in his last fight. He was in against an Olympian. I cannot pronounce his name. I've tried on several occasions. I'm not going to embarrass myself today, but he did not actually. Hey, you need to shut up. So he did not perform at the level that I thought he would perform. So what's your thoughts on that? Because now he's going to be in the ring with somebody like Shakur Stevenson, an Olympian, silver medalist, and one of the guys that we believe is the top dog in terms of skills in the sport. I'm not asking you for a prediction, but do you think it'll be a competitive fight?
So here's my thing on Frank. I've always wanted to believe that he's the type that fights up and down to the level of his opposition. And I say that because he's been so inconsistent for someone who's supposed to be a top prospect and now like on the butt of, on the verge of becoming a budding contender. Yeah. So he looked great in his first fight last year. Then I understand that Jackson Marinez was a late replacement. But my problem in that fight was that he looked strong early and then struggled, as the fight progressed and then picked it up and, was able to stop him. So that was the argument, like, he was a late replacement. They had to adjust. I'm like, well, if that's the case, it should have taken him a few rounds. He already had him early and then struggled on his way. Then he came back and just completely dominated Michel Rivera. Yeah. And then he looked the way he did against Artem in his last fight, where he had to, rely on that 12th round knockdown to pull it out. I think he would have won a decision regardless, but that was, to me, for someone who's supposed to be the truth, that was, that fight was far too close. And I don't know if it was just an off night. He hadn't fought in like 7 months after he had a very active 2022 campaign. So I just don't know what to make of him. It's like, it's almost kind of Jekyll and Hyde, but I'm sure, look, he's going to have no problem, being motivated to fight Shakur Stevenson. So if there is the real Frank Martin that we still haven't seen yet, it's going to come out in this fight. Otherwise, I don't want to use the word exposed, but, Shakur is really on another level. But to date, he only has the Oscar Valdez fight to show for it. So he needs this fight, too, to prove what he is. But, he's been pushing for this. He claimed he wanted the Devin Haney fight. Others theorized that he just wanted to fight for another vacant belt. Either way, he's got, this isn't a walkover by any stretch. He has the talent to make it a walkover if he wants. But again, that's going to be up to Frank Martin to decide otherwise. I don't know what to make of the matchup, but I want to believe we have not yet seen the best Frank Martin and that he's the type that needs to be motivated. And again, if you can't be motivated by a pound-for-pound level fighter, then you just are what you are.
Exactly.
Facts. Yeah.
Jay, any other questions in regard to Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson before I move on to the next, Jay?
Nah, nothing else on those.
So we know that David Benavidez and Boo Boo Andre rumors are that they are negotiating the fight. I don't know if they have, I don't know if they're actually negotiating or not. I saw a video from Andre where he's out there training and he says sign the contract. Of course, many people are attributing that to David Benavidez. I don't know if that's true or not. What are you hearing about this fight? And are they in the process of making this fight? And what happened to the David Benavidez versus Morrell fight? Because apparently that was supposed to happen, So what's going on there?
So I actually have a funny story that I can't share with your viewers, but I can share with you offline. But so it is, I think Andre's team, as far as they're concerned, they're all in for the fight. I think they are still waiting for a final response. because Morrell's team was kind of at the same spot. And then it was Benavidez's team that actually contradicted each other, where it was put out there by members, on their side that, they were going to fight David Morrell. I think, Sampson was even quoted saying, the fight was going to happen in the fall. Then David Benavidez is the one that slammed the brakes and said, no, I'm not fighting him next. I'm in negotiations to fight Jaime Munguia. So he wanted that fight. Munguia's team, I think that fight actually got close, but then Munguia's team, I don't know, whatever date is supposed to be in store for Benavidez, they decided they just wouldn't be ready in time. I think Benavidez wanted to fight in October, so Munguia's team passed, and they're just going to stick it out and fight. Now they're back in talks with Edgar Berlanga for, I think, what's supposed to be a November fight. So that put Benavidez back to talk to Andrade. Now, I would put it at 90-10 that he's fighting Andrade and not fighting David Morrell. But it's not 100% that the fight is done yet. It is targeted for November, but yeah, like to your point, like I said, Andrade's side is all in. I think they're still waiting for, that ink to dry in the contract to say that the fight is a done deal. I expect it to say if it takes place, and I do expect it to, I'm guessing November 4th, November 11th. But again, that could, if PBC wins the first bid for Shakur and Frank Martin, they're going to presumably, unless Showtime is willing to, invest in a fight like that, that would probably be on a pay-per-view. So that could kind of mess up plans for Benavidez and Andrade, because that's a lot of pay-per-views all in one stretch.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
But I do expect that fight to take. I do expect Benavidez and Andrade to take place this fall.
Okay.
So what does that leave on David Morrell in your opinion? Because he's like
I don't know what to make of that. I mean, maybe he fights Caleb Plant. I don't know who else is out there for him.
I thought Plant was in line to fight Jamal Charlo. I'm sorry. I thought Plant was in line to fight Jamal Charlo.
That would make sense. I mean, especially, given everything that happened. I like I said, every time we think we have something figured out, PBC, it's like they reshuffle the deck. So Caleb, he's the one that put it out there that he has a very big fight lined up for the fall. I don't know. His definition of a big fight is, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if a David Morrell fight is a very big fight. It's a big opportunity for both of them. Jamal Charlo would be a big fight. I just don't know what to make of Jamal, though. I don't know if he is actually coming back in 2023. He keeps teasing it. He was supposed to come back late last year. He was supposed to come back earlier this year, and then all we keep hearing is that he's not ready. So if he was ready, he'd be the one fighting Canelo and not Jamal Charlo. But we are. So out of those three, I certainly don't expect a Morrell Jamal Charlo fight. Especially since they're both with Ronnie Shields. So I don't know. Morrell has to fight somebody, though. To me, that would seem like that's the priority, while Jamal is still trying to figure out what to do, even just outside the ring. Never mind, once he's back in the ring.
Okay. All right. Well, Jake, I want to be a man of my word. I know we said we're going to have you on for the first 30 minutes, and we have reached the 30-minute mark, so I can totally understand if you need to move on to the next. But let me know.
I was late, so no, you're good, man. You do what you got to do.
All right. So I want to open it up to the chat for them to get the opportunity to ask a few questions. So if you can, guys, pose your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that we ask those questions of Jake. Jay, what other questions do you have of Jake? I want to make sure that we utilize our time as best as we can.
So any news on Duval? I mean, he's just sitting and waiting, anything.
I don't know what to make of his career. And it seems so weird. It's like the past several years, it's like someone wins Fighter of the Year and then they just don't have that carryover. It's like Canelo won it in 2019, and then he had that lawsuit with Golden Boy that pinched him for most of the year. Callum Smith. Callum Smith. Teofimo Lopez won in 2020. Then we saw what happened, the whole Triller mess, and then he lost to Kambosos. Canelo won again in 2021. Then he lost to Bivol. Bivol, it's almost like now he's punished for beating Canelo. He wasn't supposed to be that guy. It seems like every fight they tried to negotiate, it just didn't happen. I just don't know what's going on with him. Obviously, he's not fighting Benavidez, because Benavidez is fighting Callum Smith. That fight keeps getting pushed back. Now they're going to be fighting in January. So,
okay.
People kept saying that, he wanted to fight for Undisputed, but if you're waiting on that, it's like, it doesn't hurt you to stay busy in the meantime. So, but you got to realize, who was willing to pay for that fight. So I understand, yes, you beat Canelo. Yes, you were the Fighter of the Year, but, you're not necessarily a match from priority anymore. So someone's going to have to pay for your next fight. So, you're worth what you can negotiate. So if, you're asking for $8 million, nobody's willing to pay that, you might want to reconsider, what you're asking. I'm not saying he's asking for that, that much money, but he's at a point where people aren't willing to pay for him unless they're, going to be in, his future business.
So, question for you, Jake, from the chat. Tunnel Vision is asking, we know that there's been a lot of budget cuts as it relates to ESPN. They got rid of some of their top talent, including Max Kellerman, which I was actually quite fond of that decision. But he's asking, how is that going to affect Top Rank with the ESPN budget cuts?
It's tough because, I always hear, people say that the money's guaranteed or, they have a contract. I know, like with PBC, they have, people keep talking about Showtime going out of business, but, PBC and Showtime, they have their arrangement in place. So that's, safe for now. Top Rank, to my understanding, their deal is through 2025. They haven't really slowed down. It's just been so up and down with the shows that we get. Like last night, it was a lot of fights, but nothing really sexy. The main event was, it was a confidence restorer for, not that Jaron Ennis needed it, but it was the way for him to get back in the knockout win column. So, and unfortunately, we get several shows like that from ESPN. It's almost like, they took away Friday night fights, but shows like last night is really what we would have gotten if there was still a Friday night fights series. So I expect more of the same from ESPN. I don't see the commitment to boxing being any less. I don't think it'll be that greatly impacted. So far, the only impact that's had is, Andre Ward did not re-sign with them. So I don't know if that was a budget cut or just his decision to not return. But that's really been the only fallout so far as boxing goes.
Okay. So I'm going to throw this one out here to you, Jake. What are you laughing about?
Yeah, you talking about from the chat?
Oh, no, I didn't even see the question from the chat.
Oh no, it was some Terence, man. Go ahead with your thoughts.
I'm sorry. We talked a little bit about Gervonta Davis and Usyk Cruz, and Usyk is definitely trying to position himself to get that fight. Have you heard any other names associated with Gervonta Davis that could be a potential fight come this fall?
I have, and I've gotten yelled at for even suggesting them. I know once upon a time, Chris Colbert's name was in the mix. I don't expect that fight to take place. I know. I look. The good news is I don't expect that. 23, if at all. One crazy random name that I've heard is Gary Russell Jr. That if he's not willing to just take any kind of whatever get back fight or whatever, why not go all the way to Tank? That's a huge Baltimore versus DMV fight. So that's I guess if those are the top two options, then we probably will get a Tank and Usyk Cruz rematch. The absolute Hail Mary would be if Devin Haney decides he wants to defend his lightweight titles and tells the WBA to go ahead and order that fight. I don't see that happening though.
That's crazy.
I didn't, like I said, I didn't expect a Tank Usyk Cruz rematch to happen in 2023. If he fights a third time, we still don't know if he is going to fight a third time. So, or if he even wants to. But if that's going to be his third fight of 2023, it's starting to slightly look like Tank and Usyk Cruz.
That makes sense.
So, go ahead, Jay. Any news on Teal? Since you mentioned Teofimo earlier, any news on nothing on him?
I expect so, especially with Barbosa no longer with Top Rank and the very cozy relationship they have with the WBO. It would not surprise me to see a Teofimo Lopez Jose Ramirez fight on that Heisman night, assuming that that's still if Teo look, Teo, last we heard from him, he's retired. He still has the title. He told the WBO he wants to retain the title, but he hasn't really fully committed to fighting again. So, but if he, assuming that he does fight in December, I expect it to be Teofimo Lopez and Jose Ramirez. The only way that fight wouldn't happen is if Teofimo Lopez does not fight on a Top Rank show and he decides to fight someone like Barbosa on another platform. But that's my hunch, especially with the WBO not ordering a mandatory for him. Ramirez is already next anyway, so if that fight happens, that could wind up satisfying a mandatory. And it's big enough to me. It's big enough business that would get Teofimo Lopez back in the ring.
I hope so. I figure Heisman night. That's he considers that's his night. A fight. So
right for good reason. Sense. I mean, he's had great success on that night. So I know he looked the way he did against Sandor Martin, but his first title win was on Heisman night. The year before, he clinched his Prospect of the Year campaign in 2018. So he has every right to claim that as his own. So look, he's he's crazy, but it is good for the sport when he's in it. So I do hope he does fight again.
Yeah, I mean that fight against Taylor just surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, to me that actually shocked me more than Bud dominating Errol Spence the way he did. Only because, like I said, I always saw a path that Bud would win that fight once it finally happened, especially as it took so long and everything that Errol's been through. But yeah, Teofimo Lopez just looking the way, from the Kambosos loss and then his two fights at 140, the wild card in that was that Josh Taylor hadn't fought in so long. He struggled in the past to make weight, but Teo looked like the Teo of old that night. He looked like the pound for pound talent that he is. So that to me that was the true Teofimo Lopez. It wasn't like Josh Taylor on an off night. I think that was just Teofimo Lopez at his best, and he's going to be a serious problem for a lot of people at 140. That wasn't something we saw, in his fights with, especially against Sandor Martin, where I don't know if he, should have lost that fight. I thought it was a very close fight that maybe could have went either way, but he just looked. It was a very uneven performance. Sandor Martin, I guess, just does that to people. Josh Taylor was, as great as he was, that was, the perfect fight for Teofimo Lopez to get up and remind everyone just who he is.
Yeah. Now, side question for you, Jake. What would have to happen for like a Teo and Tank to fight?
I mean, look, I think that's the biggest fight out of every name that we're mentioning, even bigger than Tank and Devin Haney. Even with Devin Haney raising his profile as much as he has, I still think that's the massive, massive money fight for, any name you can mention at lightweight. Tank is the A side. I think everyone at 135 and around 135 just has to accept that. Tank, look, you can say he's not the true champ at 135 that Devin Haney is, that Teofimo Lopez is the true champ at 140. Tank is the one. He brings the stars, and more important for these guys, he brings the money. Nobody else is going to make the money that they will fight in Tank Davis, and he knows that. So Tank is going to be able to fight whoever he wants. He's certainly not cherry picking. I mean, he's the one. Even when the Ryan Garcia fight was on the table, he wanted that at 135. He wanted to defend his title. He honored the mandatory versus Rolly. So he's fighting all these guys. I don't know. Until Teofimo Lopez can get to that point where he can convince Tank to come to ESPN, I don't ever see that day happening, or whatever platform Teofimo Lopez chooses. It's going to be, you're going to have to accept, this is, if you want to fight Tank, this is what's on the table for you. So Ryan Garcia acknowledged that and was willing to go all in and fight on a PBC platform, and I do expect him to stay on PBC once this lawsuit is resolved, unless I don't know, Golden Boy could just really, really sweeten the pot, to get him back on the zone. But, guys see that once, they're in that business, they want to, stay there. So okay. I think that's what it's going to take for a Tank Teofimo fight.
So Jay, let me ask you this, and this is one of the topics that we have, and I got a couple more questions here, and I just saw one in the chat I want to ask you as well. Terence Crawford, we've seen him on a number of platforms here lately. I mean, he's been everywhere. And I want to ask you this. Number one, is it a product of being affiliated with the PBC, meaning that the PBC is actually pushing him to put his name out there more? And do you feel that his star power has grown? Because, being a YouTuber, if you will, a content creator, there's certain tools and analytics that are available to us. And people feel that he's more of a star right now. But when I look at the analytics based off of what I'm seeing from YouTube as we plan our different topics, I don't see the needle moving for Terence Crawford unless his name is tied to Errol Spence, similarly to before the fight. So what are you seeing? Like, what do you feel is currently going on relative to his star power?
So as far as him, like this victory lap, I think it's mostly PBC has gotten a lot of credit for it. I'm not trying to take away credit. I feel like they're almost getting too much credit for, delivering, what he's able to enjoy right now. I mean, they delivered the fight. He signed his, whatever, the 1 fight or a 2 fight deal with him. I think if he doesn't fight Errol Spence, that I don't know if he's owed another fight or it's an option or whatever, but I mean, his next fight very most likely will be on a PBC platform. So they get some credit, for at least elevating his profile. I don't want to give, Al Heyman all the credit though for, this incredible victory lap that he's enjoying. That's, this is something Terence Crawford has always wanted. To me, it's him taking full control of his own career. So now to your point, look, going into that fight, there was a lot of talk that, it's way past, once upon a time, and I think PBC was even on record saying this, that their concern was with piracy and everything else, that the ceiling for that fight was like around 600,000 for pay-per-views. This was an incredible promotion. And it's still, I think it was somewhere between 650, 675, and won't touch 700. So that, to your point, it's like Terence Crawford is a star. He's crossed into superstar status, but not like Gervonta Davis, even Ryan Garcia, their fight, that absolutely moved the needle. So this fight just wasn't, the stakes were higher, but it just wasn't on that level. And it's, but I think he knows that. That's why, he's not talking about, I'm going to go fight, Boots in a mandatory. He's actually downplaying that fight. He's talking about fighting Canelo. He's talking about fighting Jermell Charlo. Those fights are going to move the needle, a Spence rematch, whatever. So, he's very smart about the fights he's trying to, speak into existence. And, the ones that he knows are going to get people talking. Because nobody's going to talk about Bud fighting Keith Thurman. Nobody's going to talk about Bud fighting Stanionis or even
Thanks.
Boots. Boots has a long way to go. He's finally getting there. He's getting the main events on Showtime, but he still has a long way to go to raise his profile. He finally got somewhat of a homecoming in his last fight, but he's not even close to. Bud was always a draw in his hometown, so that was the thing. Like he was a huge draw in Omaha, and then he became a huge draw on HBO. They built him up. Then he became a big draw on ESPN, but just never on pay-per-view. So now he's finally at the point where he can sell some pay-per-views. But again, it depends on who he's fighting. Because if he fights Stanionis on pay-per-view, that is not – I wouldn't even say it does 25% of the business that he did versus Errol.
So in and of itself, from what I'm hearing, he's not necessarily a star because, Canelo can sell by himself, but he needs a dance partner in order to sell is what I'm hearing.
Bud's not at Canelo level yet. But like someone like Jamel Charlo, I don't know how big – like he's only had one pay-per-view so far, and he kind of shared it with Jamal, in that stacked card they had back in 2020.
Yep.
So I think his name is a huge compliment to Canelo. Like that's a huge enhancement, for this fight. And it would be the same if he fought Terence Crawford. But again, both of them, like separately, they can't drive a pay-per-view on their own. But, to Jamal's credit, he gets it. He's willing to fight all these guys. So, and I think Bud does understand that as well. He knows he's not going to go back to fighting, another David Avanesian and expect that fight to do better business just because he beat Errol Spence. We asked about Bivol before. He beat Canelo, and now he's still, we're 8 months into the year, and he has nothing. There's a very good chance he doesn't fight at all this year.
So let me ask you this one question, and this is just a quick one because somebody in the chat just said, y'all hear that Boots ain't ready. From a stylistic perspective, do you believe Boots is ready to face Terence Crawford?
Yes. Stylistically, I think Boots is ready for any welterweight in the world.
There you go, absolutely. Indian God. So that's
the profile.
That's going
100%. The problem is, look, this is an era where the networks are now starting to get to the point. We keep talking about budget cuts and is boxing going to remain on this platform and that. A lot of these guys are now being told you're either, if you want this money, you're going to fight so and so, or you're not going to fight. We're seeing that to a certain degree on DAZN, like with Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. They're both, DAZN wants that fight for a reason. They haven't really discussed any other option for either one of them. Neither one of them are going to fight anything. I mean, look, Munguia stepped up and fought Derevchenko in his last fight. He's not going to go backwards for his next one, though, unless he's going to take a massive pay cut. So even with Proger, he signed this big deal with Matchroom, but now he's stuck waiting. Devin Haney is going big dig with him, and for good reason, because he knows he drives the terms in that negotiation.
Yeah. So speaking of Devin Haney, because I think that's what you just said, Devin versus Regis. That's the question I have for you next. And if you heard anything relative to Andy Ruiz, and then finally Subriel Matias, have you heard anything about his next fight?
Okay, I'm going to go back to Matias. I just reported this last week. Matias and Ergashev, TGB won that purse bid. I expect that fight to take place. I'm going to say either October or November, depending on where they can fit it. Like BBC does have quite a bit going on between pay-per-views and whatever dates they get from Showtime. So I think that's a good enough fight where it should headline its own Showtime card. I think it's a terrific fight. I expect Matias to win. I generally root towards Puerto Ricans, regardless. But I think that's a terrific matchup for him. And then, it's good for him that he's finally getting to fight it twice again in a year and could get his career going. And this is what I get for going backwards. Okay, remind me of the other parts now.
Devin and Regis, where are we at with that?
So, look, my understanding of all this was that they agreed to terms. It was just a matter of finding the right date. And Regis, they originally thought it was going to be October 28th. Devin's the one that kind of put it out there. Not necessarily him, but his team, certainly. That's why ESPN reported that way. And when they did report it, he was even on ESPN Plus that night talking to Mark Riegel as if it was going to happen October 28th. Then I think everyone realized, hey, ESPN's already doing this Fury and Ngannou cash grab thing. So why do two pay-per-views on the same night? So now it's looking like, I think November 11th. But again, we're talking about PBC also doing pay-per-views. This is going to be a very expensive fall. So I do think it's going to happen November. I think Regis, if not Regis, then it was Bobby Benton, his trainer. They said that they've signed a contract saying they're going to fight November 11th. Again, this is, Devin just showing him, hey, I'm the one who's driving this negotiation. So you're going to wait on whatever date I give you. So because Regis is already talking about if he doesn't fight Devin, he's going to go fight Adrian Broner. It's like, doesn't sound like you have very many options going on. I love Regis to death. I think, he's a great champ at 140. But I expect it to take place mid-November.
Gotcha. And then finally, And Jake, I don't want to hold you any longer, man, because I know you've been here for a while. The final question is Andy Ruiz. Have you heard anything from or about Andy Ruiz?
I keep seeing him putting his name out there, and then every time he negotiates with someone, everyone he's negotiated with, that other side has had the same story. He wants a ridiculous amount of money. He's, Deontay, I think, even said it to, I want to say to Ellie Checkback.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
it wasn't Ellie, that was at least on his channel.
It was Ellie.
That he's acting like he still has, almost all the belts again. Like he act like this is June 2nd or June 3rd, like 2 days after he beat Anthony Joshua. He's not that guy anymore. I was at his fight with Luis Ortiz, and there was not any kind of buzz for him. Most of the buzz in that venue that night was actually for Pitbull Cruz, for his fight against Eduardo Ramirez. He's just not that draw anymore. So I don't, he wanted a ridiculous amount of money. Fury's side was accurate about that. They were in negotiations. They were supposed to fight, sometime this month, and then Ruiz wanted very, very high 8-figure payday. So, you're worth what you can negotiate. Everyone keeps talking about, we're going to get Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz. It's like, well, PBC has already shown they're not necessarily going to pay that fight for what both of those guys want. So that's always, every time all these, dream matchups get mentioned, that's the first question I ask: who is going to pay for this fight? Andy Ruiz has to realize that he does not have any backers right now. So he's the B side in any fight that he goes into.
Yep.
Right.
Hey, Jake, I got a quick question for you. Any rumors or any update on Keith Thurman?
It doesn't sound good, man. I gotta say, man, because this team reached out to me and asked, they want to do. Every so often I do check in with him, and I appreciate him. I've always liked Keith, man. I've known him. Keith, Deontay, and Caleb Plant. Those are guys like actually knew since the amateur. So I'll always do all I can. Professional from a professional standpoint, but it's just like I keep doing the same interview with him where he's calling out people and nothing's happening. So now look, to his credit, he seemed willing last year to fight Boots. He seemed willing to even fight Conor Benn before that whole, drug testing mess or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't get a fight. He agreed under any circumstances whatsoever that he was going to fight Errol Spence. It was Errol who decided once the Terence Crawford fight came back into play that he told PBC, no, this is the fight I want. I'm not going to fight Keith Thurman. Because Keith was willing to fight him in a non-title fight at 154. He didn't care about, his mandatory status at 147. So he's not necessarily the problem. But again, it's now going he wants to fight Boots or he wants to fight Stanionis. How much is he asking for to get to these fights? So I don't know if that's the issue, but, we're seeing a lot of guys who just aren't active at all. So, and it's like I said, and, PBC already blessed Deontay, Andy Ruiz, and other fighters. Look, if you can go find another fight, by all means, we're not going to stand in your way. So getting the sense that Keith Thurman is kind of in that same boat and he just doesn't have any takers right now. I also don't know what his asking price is either, though. But I have a feeling, like I said, if they offered, I'm being very hypothetical. Here's $5 million. You're going to fight Boots in October. I think he would take a fight like that. So he is at the point he does want to get back in the ring, but it's not looking good right now, especially, with an interview request with no prospects on the horizon.
Yeah, another one that's been pretty much on the shelf is Stanionis. Yeah,
and I was gonna say I really wish the guys at 147 would take the Tim Tszyu's lead. Tim is taking care of all these mandatories for Jamel.
Yeah,
it's ironic that Jamel is going to get stripped to a WBO belt because now Tszyu's like, okay, fine, I'll go fight Brian Mendoza next. He'll probably go. He wanted to fight Bakaram. He's been in negotiations with him, I think, at least twice. The IBF mandatory. So he'd probably fight Madrimov if he had to. His goal was, even in signing with PBC, he was very adamant. He wanted to stay as busy as he was before he signed with them. He had that one fight. I know he got injured, so a lot of the delay was, on him that, he couldn't get that Jamel fight until January, but then Jamel got injured and then that fight just never came back around. But to his credit, he's really forced, everyone's hand and saying, I got to get back to the Tim Tszyu of old. And he is. He's now fighting for the third time this year. And it's not low-level fights either. So, and I really wish those guys at 147, they would realize that it's just everyone, I understand Stanionis and Boots are both in a position where they benefit if Bud decides to let go of belts. They automatically get upgraded. That's why Boots fought for the IBF interim title. He wanted to be guaranteed to be champ. Obviously, he wants the Terence Crawford fight, but the grim reality is he probably won't get it. And I think he's last in the rotation as far as mandatories go. So Stanionis is in a similar situation, but again, he's not a guy, Boots at least is a Showtime priority. Stanionis very clearly is not. September 30th, we had, a great undercard for Canelo and Charlo, but this would have been a perfect landing spot for him. Even just anyone on July 29th. He could have fought me on, a non-televised undercard just to get back in the ring, but
Yeah.
I just don't know what's going on. Like, how do you not get someone like him back in the ring? When he was, like I said, he was willing to fight Virgil Ortiz. He was in Dallas. I was there when, he got the grim news that, that fight wasn't happening. And now he has nothing coming up. So, like I said, I really wish these guys would just, follow the lead of what's going on at 154. I'm all for, like even at 168 to a degree, Benavidez, he took Caleb Plant. I was hoping he would get the Morrell fight, just to get those two mandatories out the way. Because, if Canelo's not going to fight you, then at least you want to make the case that, you're the guy at that weight. And Benavidez seemed like he was on that path, but he slowed down. Tszyu is willing to assume that responsibility at 154. Nobody's willing to do so at 147. I mean, Boots, I think, kind of is, but he just doesn't have that drawing power yet to where he can force that. So that's where we're going to need Showtime to get involved and say, okay, well, now let's go do Boots and Stanionis, Boots versus Keith Thurman. Hopefully they can come up with the budget to make these fights because 147 really needs it, especially if we do get that Bud Spence rematch at 154.
Yeah. Virgil Ortiz, you just mentioned his name. Everybody knows that's one of my favorite fighters. We haven't heard anything about him since the whole incident that happened with whatever the disease is that he has. Have you heard anything about Virgil?
Yeah, my last check-in with Eric Gomez, they're looking to get him back, I think, in December. I don't know how realistic that is. It's going to be at a minimum of 154. His team has to decide if he can even safely make that. He's a big dude, naturally. So there's, a very big weight cut towards the end of each of his fights. So I don't know if him moving up 7 pounds is going to resolve whatever issues he had going on at 147, or if he's just not medically fit to fight. So that's the part his team has to really figure out. But Golden Boy seems confident that they can get him back in the ring by December. I don't know what level fight it would be, but for now, it would be at least at junior middleweight.
Gotcha. Jay, any more questions for Jake? We've had Jake almost an hour, man. We got to let Jake go.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
But any other questions we got for Jake?
The only other question I saw someone ask in the chat about Ryan Garcia.
Mm-hmm. I think he's the one who's even teased that he's got a big fight coming up in November. I don't know what that means. I think it's kind of embarrassing what's going on with Rolly and O'Hara Davies. And I say that because with all these mandatory fights that these aren't big fights. These are the fights that you should want to get out of the way to get to the big fight. And I'm not dismissing O'Hara Davies in any way, but if Rolly, really thinks he's all that, just go fight the guy. Go fight him, beat him. If the Ryan Garcia fight is on the table, then go get it. Now, let me say this too. Golden Boy signed O'Hara Davies. If they think they have any shot at resolving this lawsuit with Ryan Garcia, find a way to convince O'Hara Davies, look, maybe we can go get you Ismael Barroso. You could fight on the undercard of Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero, and then the winners fight each other. I think that's the fight that, Ryan wants and Rolly wants. So for that reason, since they both want it, I kind of want it. But again, nobody's taking the steps to get there. So, like I said, Ryan saying he's fighting in November, that would be the assumption that he's, he knows he's on the contract with Golden Boy and they're going to get that fight. I've predicted that they'll never do business again together. I know Ryan is trying to get that lawsuit dismissed outright, but I don't know how if that's going to bridge the gap with Golden Boy or if that's just going to completely burn the bridge altogether, because I just know how Oscar is. So he takes, they say it's just business is not personal, but Oscar takes the business very personal.
Very personal. Very obvious that he does.
Well, weirdly, they both seem convinced that he is fighting November. I just don't know if he believes it's going to be on one of their shows.
Yeah. Just bad.
Yeah. But I love where his head is at. Like I said, I love the fact that he made that change, that he seems to be, buying into, the Derrick James system and, just being surrounded by all that talent. He wants to come back. He hasn't, let the tank loss, just deflate his spirits at all. So, he's one of those guys where the sport is better off when guys like him are that active. So hopefully he does get back to the end of the year.
Quick question from the chat, Jake. Indian God says, ask Jake, how many more fights does he think it'll take for Jared Anderson to become or start getting the attention of some of the top heavyweights?
Look, he's very big priority on the ESPN side. Look, last night, what I loved about where he's at is that last night was his third fight of 2023. It's his fourth fight, I think, in a span of 8 months, dating back to last December. They're already talking about him coming, assuming Shakur headlines that November 16th, show, preceding the FS1 race or whatever. Jaron Ennis is supposed to be on that card as well. So that would be 5 fights in 11 months. Yeah, that's insane for a guy who's already a contender. And, just for they had to make him the main event just because they couldn't find opponents willing to fight him. They had, the raise the price for that. So, now he's a main event level fighter. Obviously, if Shakur is on the show, you're going to be Shakur's co-feature. But Jared's very, he's repeated this to everyone. He said it to me in his past 3 interviews that, he's in this for the business. He's not in it for the legacy. He doesn't care about, if he's going to fight Tyson Fury next to Usyk, whatever. If those fights come, that's fun. All he wants to do is make as much money as possible to provide generational wealth for his family. So he's a big mama's boy by his own admission. So he wants to make sure she has a better way of life. That is his priority. Fighting as often as possible, making as much money as possible. Whatever fights come with that, he's perfectly fine with. But I do expect him to stay very active, and Top Rank absolutely loves him. So he's not going to be a guy that's going to be starving for, for attention. But, as we mentioned, like with all these other fighters, including Bud, there's going to be certain names that are going to you have to attach yourself to become that superstar. So for now, he's going to be an ESPN fighter. I think we've kind of seen ESPN does not necessarily build you into a boxing superstar. So
agreed.
I just don't know what heavyweight fight is going to be out there that's going to get him to that level. I think he's just going to run through Top Rank stable, stop, short of actually fighting someone like Jalalov, within the next year. Yeah. But obviously, Top Rank is signing all these heavyweights for a reason. They're going to try to get all these guys to that point. So I kind of feel like if there's a way, if all the mandatories are finally out the way, we could see someone like Jaron Ennis fighting for a championship, maybe by the end of next year.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, Jake, what do you think about the way Top Rank did their whole pre-interview before the fight with Jared?
I don't know what that was. Look, Jared, he made this big thing too about he wants to build a brand. He had the whole Batman costume, and it just completely took away from that because you started to hear that, the theme music in the background as they're doing this interview. And then it was just so faint by the time he was making it. Like it took away like everything he was trying to accomplish. Like, this whole great costume, this whole great ring entrance, it just completely deflated it. I don't know what that was about. And I even tweeted us, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish. I just hope they never do it again. It was just no need for it whatsoever. I didn't understand the point of it at all. And we got nothing out of it.
Nothing.
All right. Any other questions in the chat? For Mr. Jake Donavan of Boxing Scene, man. I mean, I'm very appreciative, Jake, of you joining the show and giving us that detail, man. I mean, it's very insightful, and you definitely get information that we don't always get ourselves. So it's very helpful to have you on. Any other questions from the chat? If not, we're gonna let Jake get back to his Sunday, and hopefully we can get Jake on again soon.
Yeah, definitely, anytime.
All right, guys. Well, Jake, appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining us. And we'll definitely be reaching out to you soon.
Greg.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
They got one question. They said, what's the next PBC fight card outside of Canelo versus Charlo?
So they got to start shaping up their October schedule. I know the zone. Originally, I think they were looking to do so they did Canelo, Charlo September 30th. I don't know if their targeted October 7th date in Las Vegas predated that fight actually getting made because I think they expected Canelo to fight a little bit sooner. So I would expect them to do October 14th. I think they're looking to do a show in Minneapolis. And I know they've had a couple of fights that are targeted for some time. They're not doing a Showtime Championship boxing card in September, which I'm going to put out there. It's a huge disappointment because the August 12th show they had, you saw, just from, that was very poorly attended, especially, with, Gary Antoine Russell, he should have at least brought some fans to Oxon Hill, but that show just was not on the radar at all. So to go from all that time, all they're going to have is a showbox card in between going into Canelo Charlo. That's a huge disappointment, but hopefully they can reload a little bit in October. I think October 14th is the date that would be the next Showtime Championship boxing card. And then whenever Benavidez Andrade, happens, I know TGB put in for 4 dates in Vegas within the final 2 months of the year. I don't expect PBC to do 4 pay-per-views. Because they just don't have the horses for that. But to that point, though, they have to get Benavidez Andrade, which is going to be a pay-per-view. If Bud and Spence fight again, that's a pay-per-view. And if Tank fights for a 3rd time, that's a pay-per-view. So there is the possibility of doing at least 3. They got to fill in at least 2 more Showtime Championship boxing dates in between. So, but Showtime's been very good about the big event on pay-per-view. But as far as the Showtime, once you take away the pay-per-views, their SCB series has been kind of mid, to be honest. I can't remember a big main event since Charlo Castaño 2 last May.
Yeah, you're right.
So they really, I would love to see them invest in that series. I just don't know what's going on with that. I know there's a lot of stuff happening with the merger that's way, way, way beyond my pay grade. But yeah, we need some more Showtime Championship boxing dates. I only expect maybe 3 more to take place for the rest of the year, and none before October.
Jake, I want to get 2 more questions. I want to get 2 more questions in from the chat, and then that's the last. That's the last. We gotta let Jake go.
Let me ask one real quick, Greg. Let me ask something real quick to piggyback of something Jake just said. With you saying the potential fight for Showtime will be in October in Minneapolis, would that be like a David Morrell homecoming maybe fight?
I mean, look, if he's not fighting a big fight, then theoretically, but it seems like, for the fights he wants, like he's going to get pushed towards the pay-per-view route as well. I mean, his last fight was a walkover on a pay-per-view on the Garcia undercard. So if he's willing to settle for something like that again, then that's probably what we're at with him. But I mean, yeah, with those the shows at the Armory, you would like to see David Morrell drive them. But like I said, I expect like Matias, he won his title there, so he probably won.
Okay.
Just seems to be like they're, whether it's there or I'm drawing a complete blank on, the War Grounds in Costa, California. Dignity Health, I'm sorry. I can't believe I couldn't remember the name. But those seems to be like, their 2 go-to venues. So we'll probably see at least, one show at one or the other, maybe 2 shows at one of those venues.
Okay. The question that we had in the chat. So what happened to Lara versus DSG? And then finally, if Shakur wins versus Frank, what does he have to do in order to get a Gervonta Davis fight?
Lara DSG. So when the WBA made their ruling, they were told by TGB that the fight was going to take place August 5th. So that's why it got reported that way. I don't know why, they had this big flex, like, oh, the fight's not happening that night. It's like, well, it's kind of an embarrassment that it's not. So we were told this was before Canelo and Charlo was made. And I think even before Bud and Spence was made, that DSG and Erislandy Lara was going to be packaged with a Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas fight as like a 2-fight, like a co-main event pay-per-view. And then obviously Bud Spence happened, and that kind of killed those plans. I don't know where Lara and Garcia lands at this point. I can't imagine it's, because one or the other is asking for way too much money. But this is a fight where the WBA is going to have to get back involved, because Michael Zarafa I know nobody cares about him, but he is the mandatory. He was supposed to fight Lara, and he was made to understand, okay, he'll stand down because Danny Garcia wanted a shot, and they agreed to that. He agreed to let them fight. He was going to be on the undercard, and then he would get the winner. But now this has put him on the shelf all year. I think he's even given up a fight or 2 just, to wait all this out. So maybe, Lara and Garcia are fine with, sitting out all year, but other people aren't. This is where like Tim Tszyu kind of took control of his own career instead of waiting on Jamal Charlo. Right, Michael Zarafa is nowhere near on that level, so he's not in the position to drive that. So someone's going to have to get, the WBA back involved, and they're going to have to either, order a new purse bid or just put Lara Zarafa back in play. I don't know if this is a fight that, PBC just decided is just way beyond, what they want to spend on it. And that's why they're not fighting. But like I said, they were supposed to fight in August, and then that got canceled. Obviously, Showtime didn't do a show at all on August 5th. But then we said, okay, well, maybe it'll happen in September. Maybe it'll happen. Then they were told it would just happen in the fall. Same with Hector Garcia and Lamont Roach. There's just a lot of fights that are parked right now. And sanctioning bodies, if they want to have power, they're in that position, to really dictate, hey, when are these fights happening? Otherwise, we've got to reorder and keep the line moving.
Gotcha. And then finally, that last question, Shakur Stevenson, what does he need to do in order to get a fight with Gervonta Davis? I would imagine that it's similar to what we said about Jaron Ennis raising your profile, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, similar with, even like, Jason asked about, Teofimo Lopez and Tank. Tank is the A side. Even with Shakur makes a lot of money. He's a huge priority on ESPN. I don't want to misspeak. I think his contract could be ending next year with Top Rank. I don't know if that's, a desire for him to kind of explore, the free agent market. I don't think it is yet, but it seems like, whatever talk he had with Bob Arum, it's like, fights like Gervonta Davis and even Teofimo Lopez are not on the radar for 2023. I have to believe that was kind of disappointment for him, because he is someone, he has the talent and he has, the platform to become a massive star. But for now, everyone is the B-side. No matter what name you bring up, you are the B-side if you want to fight Gervonta Davis. And that includes Shakur. And Shakur commands a lot of money for when he fights. So even Devin Haney, who is the true lightweight champion of the world, he is the B side if he wants to fight Gervonta Davis. So I would expect Shakur to kind of, I always said like with him and Devin Haney or even him and Teofimo Lopez, those fights would probably take place at 140. I never expected them to take place at 135. As young as Shakur is, I think it's going to, I don't know if he's going to outgrow 135 before he can get to Tank, before the business decides that, they can allow him to fight Tank. I don't even know if they're truly on each other's radar yet, though. So I don't know if I really heard either one of them talk about fighting the other. I've heard Shakur talk plenty about fighting, Vasily Lomachenko. He wanted to fight Devin Haney. I haven't heard Tank's name come out too much.
Gotcha.
But, again, I can't reiterate that point enough, though. Everyone at lightweight needs to realize, like, Tank has proven that, if nothing else. Maybe he hasn't proven that he's the best lightweight in the world. He is the bank, right? You want to make life-changing money, you have to accept the fact that Tank is the A side, no matter who you are at or around 135.
Facts. All right, Jake. Well, man, again, appreciate it. We definitely going to connect with you after the show and see how often we can get you on. I would love to have you on once a month to just kind of give us updates and things of that nature. But that would, but we got to figure out if that's something that you can do. But certainly, we want to have you on as much as we can.
I always enjoy being on the show, man. Yeah, you got, I would love to do a monthly thing, man. I'm all in for that.
Perfect. Well, sounds good. Jay, we're gonna let you get back to your Sunday, man.
I need an Anger Man podcast hat though in order to do
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Say less. Say less.
All right, man. Sounds good. All right, Jake. Thank you, man. See you later. Peace.
Thank you so much, man. That was a pleasure.
I appreciate you, Jake.
Gotcha.
All right, guys. So that was Jake Donavan of BoxingScene.com, and we definitely wanted to get Jake on to give you guys some of the details that's currently going on in the sport. Jay, we do have a number of topics that I think we want to go through before we open up the phone lines, but or you tell me what you want to do, Jason. You know what, man? You producing this show today. I'm just falling back, man. I'm following your lead. Where do you want to go? You want to talk about the topics that we currently have, or do we want to open the phone lines up for people to call in and start having that dialogue about what's currently going on in the sport?
Let's just open the lines up because we pretty much hit pretty much everything that we already talked about.
Yeah, and we can always discuss some of the things that maybe we didn't talk about. We can always discuss those things. So give me 1 second, my good brother, so I can bring up the phone.
Stop hating on you, man.
I'm hating on how am I hating on you, bruh? Like, what are you
talking about? Asking me about personal training. You didn't come talk to me, not Jason.
They do. They do need to come talk to me. Hey, man, I do personal training. Man,
put it on silent, man.
F you.
People tired of hearing that crap.
No, I'm not putting nothing on. Everybody in the chat are FSU fans, so you can go to hell.
They're more intelligent than that.
You can go to hell. All right. I got my guy in the building, FSU Walt, and I know he love hearing that war chant. What's going on with you, Walt?
What's going on, brother? What's going on?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
What's going on, Walt?
Yeah. I'm glad you had Jake on because I had a discussion with my oldest son and I was talking about the Bivol thing. It's like they're punishing that dude for beating Canelo because they wouldn't even let him do Undisputed with saying, well, he's Russian thing, and they're both Russian fighters. You know what I mean? It's like he should have been got a chance at Undisputed.
Yeah.
Last week, I think, remember when you had that, you had a show on in the middle of the week and I called in and then Jerry called in after. And he went right at me and I'm like, I did admit after that Errol got whooped and I gave Jerry his props and all that. And I don't know why he singled me out and he called me a Florida guy and I'm a FSU fan, but I'm from Boston. I'm a Boston, through and through. So, if you want to come up there to Geneva Ave and talk, we can figure that one out. But my thing when you asked Jake about the Shakur Stevenson thing, Shakur was on I saw him on a show the other day talking about the Tank thing too, and he kind of agreed with Jake. It's like that Tank, even if he beats, which I think he's gonna beat Frank Martin, the Tank fight will be down the line because really that's the best two dudes in 135 range. It's like Devin Haney comes down to that weight class again, I've said this before, both of them beat Devin Haney. So I would like to see really Devin Haney fight that Matias dude, because I don't think Devin Haney wants no part of that. I think most guys at 140 don't want no part of that, from what I'm seeing. You know, I think the only dude to me at 140 right now that will go at him is Regis, because Regis just will fight anybody. But I think Regis will have a tough time with Matias because he can take and give a lot, man. So, but I just want to thank y'all for the good content. And Jay, I'm gonna tell you this. I've been looking at your boys. I think they're gonna be a little better than people think they're gonna be this year. I'm giving you that one, so you should take that one and save that one.
Who you talking about? You talking about Miami? Stop it.
Yeah, they look pretty decent. If Rip Van Winkle, the quarterback, can finally get it together, you know what I'm saying? They should be all right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. No, Greg. I mean, Jason, I understand. I'm not saying they're nowhere near us, but they'll beat Cab Trap, AU, and Flamingo University. Teams like that, they'll get them this year.
Hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Quarterback now.
Let me tell you something.
But
shit, Van Dyke ain't gonna do nothing. Nothing. So anyway, FSU got Walt. You wanna anything else you want to share with the people?
Nah, y'all have a great one, man. Take care.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right, be easy, Walt.
Later. Yo, we got the 410 in the building. Jason still hating on FSU because we are one of the top brands in the nation, and his team is not. What's going on with you, bro?
What's up, fellas? Hey, this is my first time calling in from Baltimore.
Oh, I was up in Baltimore not too long ago. What's going on with you?
Did you bring your bulletproof vest?
Oh, it's rough. I did not realize Baltimore was that rough. It's rough.
Yes, it's bad here, man. I want to say a couple things. Usyk, I continue to remain not very impressed with Usyk. He got two little polite boxing decisions over Joshua. Never once hurt him. Didn't knock him down. Joshua's been down several times. He's been hurt several times. Usyk has no power at heavyweight. And realistically, he should have went back to the Ukraine minus those 3 belts. I know Dubois is not anyone to get excited about, but that was a legitimate body shot that it did not appear that he was going to get up from. And that was no low blow, man. Usyk was complaining about low blows from the very beginning of the fight. Anytime he touched him to the body, he would complain. And then after he landed a body shot, every single time he went to the body, he complained about it. That's his Achilles heel. Usyk is an athletic guy. He's a southpaw, so he's got that going for him. Otherwise, he's underpowered, and he throws a lot of garbage punches that are just flick punches. Tyson Fury would literally play with him. He could never get close to Tyson Fury, and he would beat Usyk easy, in my opinion. Might be a little boring, but easy he would beat him. Having said that, Miller, not very impressed with him either. It's a weak heavyweight era right now. It just is. Tyson Fury is hands down the best fighter in the heavyweight division, and Deontay Wilder, if he's got anything left, is probably the second best guy. Miller, his opponent, was as flat-footed as an opponent can get. He was as slow as he can get, and I'm just not excited about him at all, or any of those top-ranked heavyweights, except for the Russian that fights out of Canada. And he's not a skilled fighter either. He's just a bulldozer. So the whole lot is just junk, including AJ, and the best of them are Wilder and Fury. I could watch those two fight again, because those two, in my opinion, hands down, far and away the best.
I can't argue with nothing you said. The only thing I would say, Usyk, I think Usyk was playing to the referee when he went down. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think he was playing to the referee when he went down. I think if the referee would have actually started counting, I think he would have gotten up. I'm not pressed with Dubois at all. That's maybe part of the reason why I'm so adamant that I don't really care if it was a legitimate body shot or not. I think he's a quitter. and he got hit with a jab and went down. I saw him quit in the what is his last name, Lara fight. I've seen him hurt by punches that shouldn't be hurt. I saw him drop by Usyk, where Usyk only landed one shot. The following 3 shots after that did not land, and he still went down. So I'm not a fan of Dubois, but I will say this: everything else I totally agree with. I totally agree with.
Yeah. Dubois is garbage too. Don't get me wrong. He garbage too. He quit, man. He quit on himself. He wasn't hurt from that punch that landed at the end. He was tired, and just like Tim Bradley said, his mental game is weak. However, what's fair is fair. That was a straight hard shot to the stomach. And Usyk, what we don't know is if he would have got up, but judging from his reaction, it didn't look like he could have got up, but we don't know for sure, so I won't comment too much on that. But even so, I'm not excited about Daniel Dubois. I don't get personal with liking and disliking fighters. I look for a good fight with a fair outcome. And that wasn't a fair outcome. That was not a low blow. That wasn't nowhere near his junk, man. He said at the end, the only punch he felt was the one that hit him in the junk, man. That punch wasn't nowhere near his junk, man. His trunks was kind of high anyway. And like I say, he complained about low blows the whole time. We can see that his Achilles heel is he can't take it well to the body. Agreed. And that was clear because even in the first couple of rounds, anytime Daniel landed or threw to the body, he would like tap his hip and tap his stomach. You know how they do to let the ref know like they think it's low, but it wasn't even low punches, man. And he got hit. That was a hard shot to the body. Like I say, Dubois ain't nothing to get excited about, but still, man, what's fair is fair. Now, Daniel, I think, is a good fighter. I think he's got all the tools. He's got all the physical tools, but his confidence is bad after that Joyce fight. But if he'd have won that fight and stopped Usyk in the 4th round, that could have been exactly what the doctor ordered to get his mental game back on track. You feel me? And that's how I feel, it should be, fair play. I don't dislike Alexander Usyk, but I'm just not, I hear people talking about him like he's, I heard people comparing him to Holyfield. I'm like, come on, man. The guy ain't nothing close to Holyfield. If you look at it, a lot of the punches that he throws, they're throwaway punches. They're just flick punches. Left hands, flick right hands. I mean, he can move a little bit. He's faster than most guys. What he does is he throws those flick punches that makes fighters have to react. So he's very athletic, and that is going to win him some fights. But I don't see him beating Tyson Fury, and I don't even know. If Wilder is the Wilder that was the guy that before Fury got worked on him, I don't see him beating Deontay Wilder either. Anyway, I like your show, guys, so I'm glad you got a number now to call in, and I'll be calling in, checking y'all out.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thank you for the call.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, later. Yeah, I agree about 99% of what he said there. The only thing that I just don't care about, I don't care about whether or not he hit low or not. I don't care about Daniel Dubois and whether or not if he wasn't a quitter, then I would care more, but I just don't. So, guys, we got 154 people in the building, 80 likes. If you get the chance, please hit the like button. And if you're new to this channel, this is AM Sports Media, the Angry Man Podcast. We are always dropping content. Make sure you become a subscriber and a member if you get the opportunity to. All right, so let's see who we got calling. 609, you in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. I believe I know who this is. Is this Terrence Best Videos?
Yeah, you know it.
What's going on, man? What's
up? Tried to get in last week. Y'all had the phone line blocked up, so you ain't want no smoke, I see.
No, we tried to get you in. You kept calling late. What you doing? I tried to get you in. What's going on with you, bro?
Chilling. All right, a couple things from last week. This is for Jason, because Jason made a comment. And I'm going to just ask Jason. If I said, I just want Jason to answer this. If I said, if there's a fire, you know what? I'll never go in there and save somebody's life, right? And I went there, and it was a fire, and I went there and saved somebody's life. Would you be upset with that, Jason? That's a question for you, Jay.
If you went and saved somebody's life?
Yeah, I said, look, no matter what, I'll never go into no house and save somebody and try. If that house was on fire, I'll never do that. But if I went in there in that house to save somebody's life, you won't have a problem with that, right, Jay?
You going to save a life? You save a life. That's on you.
I'm just saying you wouldn't have a problem with that, right? I'm just saying that's okay.
I know where you're going. I already know where you're going. So you want Jason to say, yes, I would not have a problem with that.
You know where I'm going, because Jay, that's what Jay was saying last week. Like he had a problem with Bud saying he gonna go up to 168. I mean, yeah. Well, what's the problem with that, Jay? So he said he wasn't going to do it, and now he says he's going to do it. That should be fine for you, Jay. Why you were so upset last week about that?
Get him, Jason.
No, I was upset. I'm upset because he's been flip flopping this whole time since for a whole damn year, Terrence. BLK Prime switched up on every interview that he ever said. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Jay, but what you upset about that for? Even if he's flip flopping on that, what you upset about? What you upset because he might beat Canelo? Is that it?
No.
Terrence, he might beat your man. What's going on, Jay? I'm just asking. Terrence, don't you want him to lose to Canelo?
One thing about me,
huh?
I guess you didn't realize I'm not the biggest Canelo fan.
Oh, okay.
So I don't care about Canelo.
I was just confused. I was just confused about that. You were so upset about it.
Nah, I just want Bud either gonna go up to 168, and I even said that you missed out on where I said it'll be some G shit if you went to 168 and handle business. Did you miss that part?
I mean, yeah, but you were also. I was just saying before you were saying that because you just sounded a little disgruntled when you were saying it last week. So that's maybe I'm wrong. And then with you, Greg, you said, if he beats Canelo, he makes top 25. What? That's all he makes if he beats Canelo, Greg?
I didn't say top.
Top 25. Is that what you said? I could have swore you said if he beats Canelo, he makes top 25. That's it?
I thought I said he would make top 15.
Top 15. Moved up 10 slots. Okay. I was just trying to figure what did this man have to do to get credit from you guys? I mean, what guys that you have ahead of him? Greg, what person do you have ahead of this man that's clearly, if they fought, would be a big time favorite against him? I don't know who.
Let me ask you a question.
What person?
Let me ask you a question.
What person? Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao is a 8 division champion, right? That's what they say.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what they say, right? So you will put Bud above him?
I'm saying I'm putting it like this. Anybody that's not clearly has a big time advantage with him, I'm not putting him above him. I'm saying about even.
I'm not saying
because that would have been 50-50 at his height, at Pacquiao's height. When people thought he was using at that time. I mean, that would be 50-50.
People think Bud.
So what we talking about here?
Let me make this argument because people think Bud is using it as well. But what you're saying is so. I'm not saying that they would have a huge advantage over Terence Crawford. Nobody's saying that. You're making an argument that's not necessarily being made. I'm not saying that he would have a huge advantage over Terence Crawford, but I'm saying that I believe that there are fighters that would beat him in my top 15. I think Sugar Ray beats him. At 147, I think Sugar Ray beats him. I think Tommy Hearns beats him.
Well, here's a question for you about Sugar Ray. I want you to answer this. You do realize that Sugar Ray was boxing in his 30s too. And at 35, his butt would have been like a 75% favorite against him when they were both 35. Y'all remember that? So you talk about Leonard had to be in his 25 years old, 26 years old to even be 50-50 with Bud. That's what you talk about, right? You'd have to be 25 years old, 26. That is.
I'm talking. So no, I'm talking about both fighters at. Hold on. I'm talking about both fighters at their peak. Right, because you really can't compare.
All right.
Let me finish.
I'm just making that point.
Let me finish. Because you really can't really compare the two fighters at age because Bud is a 147-pounder at 35. I can't remember if Sugar Ray was even still fighting, but if he was, he would have been at like It would have been at light heavyweight. So
it wasn't. He fought Norris. That wasn't in no light heavyweight. Remember?
But
he fought like Terry Norris.
How old was he when he fought then?
If he around 30, around Bud's age, about 35.
Box rec. Let's go ahead and look this up.
Yeah, look it up.
Let's not debate that. So his last fight, his last fight had to Camacho.
Yeah, Jay. What's up?
Terence, do you think anyone can beat Bud? Do you think God? Do you think Muhammad Ali? Tyson? I mean, the way
he can't beat no heavyweight. Come on, I'm talking about people welterweight.
You sure about that?
Welterweight.
The way you talk about he'll go up to he's 168, he'll beat Canelo.
He never said he could beat these guys at 168. Y'all, everybody else keeps saying that. He says weight classes are there for a reason. He's never said he could beat no Bivol or anybody like that. Come on, y'all the one keep making this stuff up. I'm talking about welterweight. That's all I'm talking about. I ain't talking about no heavyweights and no light heavyweights and no cruiserweights. I'm talking about welterweights. Let's keep it real here. You guys want to keep saying that Pacquiao and all this. I mean, remember when they kept saying Pacquiao with Floyd? I always said Floyd was going to beat him easily. Like y'all keep saying, he came from what 108. Floyd was always the bigger guy against Pacquiao. Some of the stuff I never understood.
You know that, right?
So I'm looking at Sugar Ray, and his last fight in 1997 was against Camacho at 160. Terry Norris would have been at 154, which was a mistake because he was probably too old at that point.
Well, right, but he was. But we talk about Bud. He's the same age. Listen. All right, what else? Yeah.
Duran was at 160. Hearns was at 160, the rematch, and then Donnie Lalonde was at 168, so he was at super, so he was going up and down in weight. So that's really hard to compare. So hold on, let me finish. Sugar Ray Leonard, let's see when he was born, so we can understand exactly how old he was, because it's not listed there. 56, okay, so in 97, he would have been almost 40.
What's the
actually, no, he would have been 41. He would have been 41 in 97.
How old was he?
41 in 97. So he would have been 41 in 97. So when he fought...
when he fought Norris, how old was he?
So that would have been 91. So he would have been 35.
I thought he was 30 what?
35. He would have been 35.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's the last time I really watched. After Norris beat him, I didn't watch anymore because I didn't want to watch him no more after he beat. Because I stopped following Leonard after that. So that's what I'm saying. I know he was around Bud age when he fought Norris, and he should have retired right then and there. He should have retired, but yeah.
Okay, so let me talk. So you're talking about a Ray Leonard that went up and down in weight, had a whole bunch of gaps in his.
Wasn't that after Norris though? You saying he was doing that before Norris or after Norris?
Yeah, no, he did it before Norris. So he went up, then came back down, which I always think is a mistake, right? So at 35 is when he fought Norris, and now you're comparing a guy from 1991 to a guy in 2023. You're talking about 30 some odd years later, and you want to compare. Medicine has changed. Everything has changed. That's why we're seeing.
Don't take no medicine, bro.
No, sports medicine. Sports medicine. Sports medicine.
What sports medicine has he used, though?
I'm talking about, oh Jesus Christ. So
he just lifts weights and stuff.
Sports training, everything is different. You're talking about the nutrients that they do. You're talking about the supplements that they take. Everything is different today. Boy. You're trying to compare that. He's on snacks, guys. He's on snacks. Snacks is one level low. Snacks is one level below.
Hey, great.
Below steroids.
I knew snack was.
He don't get sick.
Great. Can't wait to get snack out, man. I knew Greg couldn't wait to talk about snacks. Oh, okay. Like these magical pills. Okay, whatever, man. I ain't even go. Let's move on past that. How about? I have a question, guys. The winner out of Frank Martin and Shakur, they got a better resume than Tank, right? Y'all gotta admit that, right?
The winner out
of whoever wins that fight out of Frank and Shakur has a better record than Tank.
Yes.
I mean, not a better record, but a better resume than Tank. Do we all agree with that, right?
Yes, because if Frank beats him, he got Shakur on his resume, and I think Frank is better than anybody on Tank's resume. But
yes.
I would say that.
That doesn't mean they're a better fighter.
No, I'm not saying.
No. We're just saying resume. We ain't saying fighter. We just saying resume.
Now you want to talk resume, Terrence? Now you want to talk resume?
That's fair. Go ahead, Terrence.
What are you talking about? Y'all the ones that downplay Buzz resume the whole time. I told y'all don't worry about it. I'm looking at the fighter.
But now you're worried about Tank's resume, though.
I'm just saying that Tank got to fight somebody. My only point is he ain't fight nobody. Can he please fight somebody? And we see this guy talking about he did 61,000 before Ryan and before he fought Ryan. Now all of a sudden he's a pay-per-view star. Why y'all keep doing this? He did, and first of all, we don't even know. I'm gonna tell you something. I read a report where they said that many of those pay-per-views were turned back, where they had to refund people money because they were billing people 2 and 3 times. Why we never heard anything about that story? I don't think they did know 1.4. You ain't see them on the media. Is Ryan or right now Tank been on national TV? Nobody even hears nothing about these guys. And now these are they're these big stars, man. Come on, they ain't do no 1.4. That's a big. I don't believe that, bro. That's phony. That's fake information. Fake news. Come on, man.
You just mad
because no 1.4.
Your boy can't sell. You just mad because your boy can't sell. That's all you mad about.
I'm just saying, y'all got to be honest. They got no buzz for the media. How they do 1.4? Neither one of them did nowhere near 1 point. There's 600,000 before. How they do 1.4? Y'all believe anything? So I'm just saying, all y'all believe anything. Nobody uses logic anymore.
So why they using? So why they got 30 million piece? Why do y'all got 30 million piece? So you want to talk about logic? Again? Okay, you want to talk about logic. So logically then, using your logic, since you want to talk about pay-per-view buys, then clearly that BLK Prime pay-per-view that did shit in terms of the pay-per-view buys, no way Terence Crawford made $10 million off that.
Listen, that was like $30, right? I mean, what?
So exactly,
I don't know
so
if he made no $10 million. Maybe he finessed them. I don't know, Greg. He might have finessed them. Just like he finessed Errol. This is what Bud do. He finessed people. He finessed them. He didn't even know what BLK name was. He said BL. He didn't even know who they were.
So you believe
he got that money though.
You believe everything associated with Terence Crawford, but you don't believe nothing associated with PBC. Got it.
He's with PBC on this last fight.
Oh,
he did. Bud was with him. What you mean?
Oh, now he's a PBC fighter, huh?
Huh?
Now you saying that? Now you agree he's a PBC fighter?
Oh, he might as well be. That's why he capping for them right now, because Bud capping for them when he says, I agree that the hedge fund wasn't going to work and it wasn't good and I like this. Nah, he just saying that because he got paid, bro. He ain't telling the truth about that, bro. Just like Canelo capping for him, talking about, Al Heyman's a great man and all of this. Bro, when they giving him money, when Al giving him all that money that he don't deserve, I guess he'll say anything, man. These guys capping, bro. Ask Keith Thurman how good PBC is to him. Ask Keith Thurman that. Get him on your show and ask Keith Thurman. And ask all those fighters that ain't fought in years in PBC with the PBC. Ask them how they feeling about Al Heyman. You get these guys on there that's getting this money. Yeah, they're gonna say they love Al Heyman, but how about all those fighters that still ain't fought on PBC? Ask them. And what my man just told y'all, he said, these fights, we don't know if they're gonna happen or not. I don't know. Y'all keep saying PBC going so good, so why these shows not going on? Why these other fights not happening? The bigger picture is still out there with the PBC. They have these big fights, yes, but then the little fights and those Mandos that have to happen, they ain't happening. So yeah, the PBC is not out the woods yet. I want to see these little fights start to happen. Yeah.
So any more hate that you got for the PBC before we move on to the
I don't have no hate for it, but y'all just Y'all just be capping sometimes for the PBC, but whatever.
Capping?
That's all I got
You just
for
said
you.
Bud was capping for him.
Well,
So Bud be capping too then, huh? We all capping for
Huh?
PBC, I guess.
What was that?
You said Bud was capping for him too.
But Terry,
Wait, say that again?
He just said
I don't know what Jason.
He just
I don't know what Jason said.
Everybody's capping for the PBC according to you. But let me get to I want to get somebody else on because they've been reaching out to me. So let me get them on real quick.
All right, Greg. All right, Jay.
All right, later. All right, hey, 513, give us a call back. I'm trying to get Athletic Minds on, so I'm waiting for him to call. Athletic Minds, I'll actually introduce him when he comes on the channel, but or when he calls in. But I want to get him on real quick because he just pinged me on Insta trying to get in. So Athletic Minds, go ahead and give us a call, man. We'll get Athletic Minds a couple of minutes to give us a call. Okay, here we go right here. All right, so we got Athletic Minds in the building. Let me go ahead and introduce you first. Athletic Minds is actually the individual that yesterday when I did the live stream, I showed his content. It was basically a blooper reel of our prediction, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Laughed at it hard. I actually attributed it to somebody else who actually wasn't the person that did it. But Athletic Minds is now in the building. I want to give him the opportunity to not only get his thoughts off, but I also want to give him the opportunity to plug his channel because I just thought that was amazing, and he's now a part of the family. So what's going on with you, Athletic Minds? What's up with you?
Salute to the AM Sports Media. Salute to Jason. Salute to Greg, man. Thank y'all for having me up here. I hope y'all know it's all love. You know what I'm saying? Hope nobody's offended. But at the end of the day, man, you know, I really just ultimately appreciate y'all for having me up here.
Absolutely.
I got a new channel also. I'm moving on from that channel because I was demonetized a year ago for a lot of the projects I was doing. So I'm starting fresh. My new channel is called Boxaholic. So, you know, for those who want to sub, you can sub. If you don't, you don't. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's
and put your really. make sure you put your link in the chat section.
All right, I definitely will. But I want to challenge y'all on a couple things y'all was saying though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I just feel like y'all was making excuses. That's I feel like y'all fit the criteria to be put in my video. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. I really forgot the context of what y'all was saying though. But what are the things that y'all feel why Errol Spence wasn't the same? Like what particularly?
So here's why I thought Errol didn't look the same. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background about it because you probably didn't get the opportunity to actually hear this. But so we did a fight party during the fight, right? And right before, I can't remember what the fight was before that, but I ended up walking out because I had to put my kids to bed. Yeah, Eastside Cruise. So I had to put my kids to bed, right? And so I had to walk away from the chat, but Jason was still in it. I didn't see Errol Spence's interview with him looking funny or whatever. And I didn't see his ring walk. I saw none of that. When I walked in, I think it was probably like 45 seconds left in the first round. Errol's balance looked off to me. He just looked off soon as I'm like, man, he doesn't look right. And so when I sat down, that's what I started seeing in the chat as well. People were talking about he didn't look right. And they started telling me, Greg, you didn't even see the interview. You didn't see that. You didn't see this. So that's the reason why he didn't look right. Now, we've also been on the record in saying that that's not the only reason he lost. We've pointed out on multiple occasions the technical flaws that we saw in Errol Spence and the reason why we believe that if he doesn't improve those technical flaws, even though he might look better at 154, he's going to lose again. So that's the whole context of it. Now, what's your question?
Okay. All right, so my take on it, you know, I did see the interview with whoever interviewed him before the ring walk, and I did see that his odds was a little like lower than usual. But for me, Errol Spence is not really a colorful guy. Like his facial expression is never like this most colorful thing. So I was really thinking nothing of it. It just for me, the work that he put in the first 2 rounds before he got dropped at the end of round 2. I was like, he looked pretty good to me. I had people over there watching the fight. They were like, oh, Errol, yeah, he winning this second round too. He won the first round, he won it, and then he got caught, you know, and he was hurt. You know, he got hit with Crawford's power hand. For those of you who don't know, you know, it's virtually the same shot that Kell Brook got caught with. You know, Errol took it a lot better. He was able to get up and recover from it, but not fully recover. And that's why I feel like that shot changed the trajectory of the fight, and Errol Spence started the fight with his heart. You know, he started to go out there, throw caution to the wind, and he basically just, whatever game plan him and Derrick James may have had, he threw it out the window. He said, "Oh man, I got dropped," and in his head, you know, he let his ego get to him, and you know, he just started running.
So let me say this to you, Athletic. You are not saying anything different than anything we've said on here. Like, I think that when Terence caught him, I think he caught him in an area that knocked this equilibrium off, and I think that was part of it as well. And we also said Errol, it's almost like Errol fought that fight thinking he could just simply go in there and just break him. I don't know if you actually looked at, and I know you pulled some clips from our video, and I don't know if you looked at the entire video, but we also mentioned that this fight was going to be predicated on the fact that you either, like, it was going to be a flexibility, I think is the term that I use. You were going to have to be flexible because you're going to have to bring something different to the table once the other guy adjusted. I always thought Errol could adjust, and I still think Errol can adjust. But Errol went in there with the mindset, in my opinion, that I'm just going to walk him down and break him. And we literally, like, you need more than that to beat Terence Crawford. We said that. We thought that he needed more than that. So that's why I don't get some of the narratives that have been put out there about this channel saying that, oh, we hate Terence Crawford.
You know,
we talked about his resume.
Honestly,
it's just not true.
Honestly, it was because of my comments, because my comments was going crazy. They requested that I put y'all the video, so I did. I didn't do my due diligence. I will put that on myself. I didn't fully do my due diligence and do all the research on it, but I did see the before and after of, you know, you guys talking about the like before the fight, how it looks, how Crawford looks, then after, and things like that. So I did put y'all a video of that. That's on me. You know
No.
Fans
I'm happy that you did it. I'm happy you did it. I think that was brilliant. So no apologies for that, man. Jason and I had a good fucking laugh. I sent it to Jason, probably like 9 or so or something like that, and we had a great laugh on that. I loved it. So no apologies necessary.
Right, but for me, it like you guys said, the fundamental flaws that Errol Spence make, you know, I had a breakdown video a year ago breaking it down, that Ugas fight, you know, people getting all excited about that, and I was just really looking to see why people think he would beat Terence Crawford in that fight. I wasn't looking at the brutality he was putting on him. Of course I was looking at that as well, but mainly looking at how is he going to beat Terence Crawford? Is this guy right here who's fighting Ugas going to beat Terence Crawford? And I just didn't see it. I've seen a lot of things that he does that'll really be dire in a situation where if he's reaching in, get caught by Crawford, and that happens several times in the fight. You know, you can't do that. And he was very predictable as well. You have to change up the variation of your punches. He likes to throw that jab, and that loop in left hand, whether it's to the body or to the head. He was doing that. Crawford timed that and caught him with a hook at the end of the fight, at the last sequence. So it's just a lot of things that Errol Spence for I want entirety of his career. There's been a lot of things that he's been doing that in one training camp he's not going to be able to correct. And if he's in this particular time, he's on a 15-month layoff. That was on him. A lot of people are still picking Errol to win. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this, Athletic. Let me ask you this, because I get what you're saying, and I actually saw some of the flaws in Errol Spence's game, and I attributed it to him being off in terms of the layoff in the Ugas fight, the
timing.
But I will say this. I didn't see those flaws as glaring prior to the accident. And I'm not blaming the accident. What I'm blaming is the layoffs and just getting comfortable with being able to go into the ring and just do what you do and it being successful. How much of that do you believe is attributed to just being off and believing your own hype?
I'm gonna say this, bro, and I said this in one of my videos. I'm not a fanboy of Terence Crawford. I am a fan. I think there's guys that can beat him possibly. I think if he goes up, fights Canelo, I think he could get probably stopped, bro. I think it's a high probability he gets stopped. I think if he fights Jamel, he can get stopped. I don't think Crawford is unbeatable. I do understand he's getting older. I do understand that, you know, there's weight classes for reasons. You know, sometimes size does play a factor in fights. You know, not in every case, but in some cases. But I will say this. With Errol Spence, I think it's ludicrous. Like I said in my video, one of my recent videos, I think it's ludicrous for anybody to think that Errol Spence is the same fighter after that car crash. You know what I'm saying? But what we're not going to do is act like Errol Spence wasn't still a great fighter after he came back from the car crash, because we know the body of work that he laid. Pure dominance. Dominated Garcia. Dominated Ugas. Unifying belts. These were the things he was doing, and then he lost to Terence Crawford. That's the end of the story. You know?
Yeah. Athletic Minds, you're saying that's something I've never heard from other Bud fans, to give Spence credit for that.
He's not a Bud fan. He's not a Bud fan. He just literally said he's not a Bud fan. Yeah.
I'm not a fanboy of Crawford, but I am a big fan of him. That's it. I wouldn't lie to him. I wouldn't what can I say, cap for him or anything like that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just calling how I see it. You know, do I think it could have been a more competitive fight before the car crash? Absolutely. I said that a long time ago. I said that way before the conclusion of this fight. But I do ultimately think Errol Spence would have still been stopped. You know, I wanted it as a boxing fan to be a more competitive fight, but it just wasn't because of how good Terence Crawford is and the mistakes that Errol Spence made. You just can't. It cost him the fight, basically. Was what I think.
Yeah, no, I can agree with those mistakes. There's some things I saw with Spence that he did uncharacteristic to me when I've seen him against Danny, against Uga, some other fighters, was just keeping his head on that line, just looking at Bud punch as it comes towards his face over and over again. You know, that's not always characteristics of someone that's technically sound per se. You know, but Bud did his thing. I have no problem with saying that Bud was the better fighter. He handled his business. You know,
which is what we've said.
That's not a problem whatsoever.
We've said that on multiple occasions. I don't know why it's just listen. In athletic minds, you know, I don't know how long you've been doing this. You may have been doing it for a very long time, or maybe you're just not getting into it. But what'll end up happening as your platform grows and grows and grows, you're gonna start getting connections to other people. And we got word from somebody who I know has a connection in that camp that he had a real injury.
I know you're gonna say that.
Yeah. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. We debated on whether or not we were gonna put that out. Now, Blue Blood did a video 2 weeks later. We just had Jake Donovan on as well, and he mentioned that he heard that. We know that Errol's not making any excuses, but let me add to this, and I'll say this for you, athletic minds. This is the way I kind of view this, right? At the end of the day, whatever excuses are out there for Errol Spence is good for both fighters, and here's why. It gives a probable call, or at least it gives a probability, or at least increases the probability in terms of people that are going to watch the fight, that maybe Errol will do better, which puts money in Errol's pocket and puts money in Terence's pocket if they choose to do the rematch. So I don't have a problem with whether or not there's an excuse out there and there's no excuse out there. At the end of the day, whatever helps to build the fight back up to a point where it can do better business, I'm all for it. So what's your thoughts on that? And then we got to move to the next person after that.
I think I really think that's a good point. That's a good point. It will probably sell the second fight. But that second fight, there are going to be a lot of people who are wary of him because how dominant the first fight is, regardless of, you know, whether they want to see it because, there's people saying this about Errol, that about Errol. That second fight is really, you know, do I want to see it? Yeah, because there's a lot of things that I'm sure is going to get debunked when Terence Crawford faces him again. You know, a lot of people think Errol may look strong at 54. Hey, well, Crawford said he had a hard weight cut at 47, so he's going to look strong as well. So, you know, I ultimately think the same thing happens, but, you know, it would be a good fight, though. It would definitely be a good fight.
I don't see it changing unless Errol can change the technical flaws that he demonstrated in that fight. If he does not improve on those technical flaws, it doesn't matter what weight they fight at. He's gonna lose. He needs to improve.
And
go ahead.
And also, I know people wanted Derrick James to tell him. He was telling him the right thing. And somebody, I was on one of my guys' panels yesterday. He made a great point. He said Derrick James was giving Errol Spence good instructions, but did he teach him to do the things he was asking him to do in the ring? You know, that's the big question. Because I know Derrick James, he teaches the jab, he teaches come forward pressure, he teaches basically kind of what his style was back in the day. You know what I'm saying? He teaches that. You know, so was he teaching him movement? You know, things like that. Things he was telling him to do with Crawford, step around him. You know what I'm saying? Move your head off the line. You're standing right in front of him. Were they going through those things, you know, consistently, not just, because of this one fight? You know, like, were they doing these things, practicing these things?
Let me ask you a question, because we did a video and Jason agrees or Jason disagrees, and I feel that he should. I feel Errol should add additional eyes to the camp. And the reason why I say that, if you look at Jermell Charlo, he has a guy that's working on his speed. He has another guy that's working on his power. He has Derrick James that's looking at, you know, the overall game plan and all that stuff. I think it's beneficial. Right. If you look at Terence Crawford's team, his team is huge. He did some MMA training, so he had a pre-camp before the actual camp to do some MMA training. He has a physician in there as his cut man. He has, I think his name is Tszyu with the doing the work with the mitts and all that stuff. He got Bomac there. He got another trainer. I just feel like to some degree having another pair of eyes, you know, still with Derrick James doing the overall strategy and the overall game plan and what direction they're going to go in, but having additional eyes to point out different things to help, I think that would be beneficial to Errol. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I said I agree with maybe one person in there. I say just bring a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, I want a bunch of people. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I feel Derrick James, although I think he's a very good trainer, I still think he's a better trainer than Bomac. Nobody can tell me otherwise. He had a bad night, and you know he underestimated Terence Crawford because you know he still doesn't want to admit that this man is you know that this man is just better than this guy. You know, and of course he's just training. He wouldn't admit that, but he doesn't want to give Crawford credit ultimately. You know, because someone asked him. What do you rate Terence Crawford's skill? Did he surprise you? Anything he did? He said no comment. I guess because they're fight, he knows that the rematch will happen. So I don't know. But Derrick James, I feel like he's very biased. Certain things that he may not want to take a look at. So yeah, they will want to bring somebody else in to give Errol Spence a different perspective and maybe help him, you know, do a better job in the fight. You know, I don't think he will be victorious at all, but you know, probably make the fight more competitive, I guess.
All right, Athletic Minds. Well, I appreciate you calling in, man. You are now part of the family. So please drop your link to your channel in the comment section, man, and we'll definitely be connecting soon.
Sure will. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Peace.
I didn't say he needed any other extra set of eyes in there.
I didn't say you. Dude, why you always
yes,
gotta
you
feel
did.
like you gotta
You
clarify something? You said you did disagree. You don't like all those extra hands in there. I want more hands in there. I don't want one pair of extra eyes. I want a team in there, just like Terence Crawford got. And I want him to get Mimo Heredia. No. I want him to get Mimo Heredia, right? And he need to get on his own program that Mimo Heredia will bring to him. All right. I'm sorry, excuse me. You are on the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. My apologies for coughing in your ear. What's going on with you?
What's up, man? It's Isaiah from Cincinnati.
What's going on with you?
What's happening, man?
What's up, man? I'm just chiming in on the conversation. I had called in probably like a month ago, 3 weeks on one of y'all live. But this is my thing, you know, because with this rematch, I think it should be a rematch with Spence and Bud because for this sole reason alone, even though Spence looked like that in the first match, I think that it was so much hype, you know, with this being one of the biggest fights of the decade and everything. A lot of people were so disappointed in that first fight that people almost like, you know, kind of do like it almost feel like it needs to be a rematch because it's like, why was this so hyped up? You know, whether you a Bud or a Spence fan, you know, like, you know, the media hyped that up for months. People had been waiting on that fight for years. So it's almost like a boxing fan. It's like you kind of, even if you don't want to see a rematch, it's almost like a rematch needs to be had because it's like, what was that? You know, it's like we all kind of got let down, you know, in that performance by Spence. You know, and I'm a Spence fan saying that.
Yeah. I feel you. I totally feel you on that, bro.
Yeah. But this is my other point too. You know, because I'm not gonna get into whether Spence was high or you know whatever. You know, Spence looked bad. I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm a Spence fan, but I'm not gonna get into why he performed that bad. But what I will say is that as good as Bud looked excellent. I'm not taking anything away from him. But what I'm saying to other people is that let's be real here. Spence didn't show any fundamentals. His footwork was off. He didn't apply pressure. In my honest opinion, I felt like a whole lot of people could have beat Spence that night. Now, Crawford was the one in the ring with him, but Spence wasn't even doing the fundamentals. So, I mean, I feel like if he would have fought Ugas or Garcia or if he would have fought Kell Brooks, how he fought Bud that night, he wouldn't have beat Kell Brooks. I mean, and that's my only thing. I'm not saying that, hey, Bud won fair and square, but it's a whole lot of fighters that would have beat Spence that night, and I think that's why a lot of people are like so up and all about it, because we know that's not the Spence that we know to become accustomed to.
Yeah. I know exactly what it is that you're saying, man, and I agree with that, man. It's like, what was that? I thought it was going to be a much more competitive fight than what it was. The thing about it is we talked about the stylistic matchup of I never understood, and we got slack from this from certain people on our channel that support Errol Spence, saying that no, the resume, and if you think that this fight is going to be close, you're not really no boxing in Spence fan. I'm like, dog. I'm like, stylistically they match up. Like I can't say that Errol's going to blow him out, because you got the bull and the matador, bro. You got the bull and the matador. Right. Sometimes the matador wins, sometimes the bull wins, but they both have tools to hurt the other one, right? To be victorious in the fight. So the whole one would blow out the other one never made sense to me. I was even surprised to see Errol get blowed out like that. Errol, yeah, that was shocking to me.
It was surprising, and I'm like I said, Bud won. But when I look at Spence, the Spence that I've known to become accustomed to, the first thing from round one, he wasn't even keeping a high guard up. Two, he didn't press Crawford any. Like, that might have been, accolades to Crawford. He might have had just been boxing so good that Spence couldn't press him. But to me, not to see Spence really press and throw body shots, you're talking about the number one body puncher in boxing right now. So when he's not going to his 1-2, that's almost like Jordan or Kobe with a fadeaway. Spence goes to the body. So when you don't see Spence going to the body, it's like, hold on, a red flag goes up. And like I said, I mean, Crawford might have been that exceptional that he just eliminated all that. But, I think we getting so many questions and red flags about it, because this was a whole different fighter we've never seen. I mean, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from what he beat him. Can't make no excuses. But at the same time, when you see a fighter that's known for throwing body shots, the leading boxer in body shots and boxing right now hardly throw any, it's kind of, it's a little bizarre. So I think that's why we do need to see a rematch.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I'll say to that, man, and is this, and I should have mentioned this when Athletic Minds was on there, but Spence looked weak to me on the inside. He did. Weak. He looked weak, and a lot of people are attributing it to Terence Crawford and Snack and all this other stuff. I just felt like Errol's balance looked off to me, and Errol looked weak to me. And once Errol got on the inside and couldn't move Terence Crawford, I was like, oh, this is over. It's over.
I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but that was the thing to me, because supposedly Spence had been the bigger, stronger fighter, but I mean, Bud looked huge that night, and I'm like, man, he almost looked like he was a running back. I'm like, man, this dude. I mean, no, I'm for real. Like, I'm not even trying to look at his body like that, but I mean, Bud looked huge. He looked way bigger than Spence. And he looked strong. It was surprising, because I never seen Spence be basically bullied around. I mean, none of us have. I mean, you talking about, I don't know if y'all seen the street video when Spence was in the street, going hard to the body with the big 300-pound guy, but it was just bizarre. It was just bizarre. I mean, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Bud, but to not see Spence do none of his fundamentals, and it's hard to say that without sounding like you're making excuses for him, though. That's the thing, but I'm just being literal. Like I said, it's almost like Kobe or Jordan not doing a fadeaway, or LeBron, not dunking when he got it's kind of odd not to see Spence throwing body shots or pressing, but he didn't do it any, so it's kind of bizarre, you know.
Yeah, he's gonna have to work on a lot in camp. That's why I'm an advocate for them pushing the fight to Q1. He needs more time to clean up a lot of the things that went wrong in that fight, man. I mean, he needs a lot of time to clean that stuff up. So it is what it is. But anything else you want to share with the people, bro, before we move on to the next?
Nah, man. So I just so the fight is on though, right? They definitely gonna do the rematch.
No, I don't know. Like we've been
hearing this
week. Jake said he's been hearing rumors. I don't even know if we're going to know this week because Jake mentioned the fact that they're talking about there's a debate whether it's 30 days or 30 business days. So we don't know if we're this week as well. So we'll
this week or mid-September.
Okay. All right, man. Nah, man. Keep up the content, man. Love y'all. All right.
All right, man. Peace.
Appreciate it.
All right, now. Yeah.
All right, man. I think it's going to be our last call right here. 540, you in the building with us, man. What's going on with you?
Love y'all. All right. Appreciate it. All right, now. Yeah.
Hey, you got to cut your volume down.
Hello?
Well, I don't think he even knew he was on with us. So that's gonna be our last call, Jay. I appreciate the last call, but I don't think he knew he was on with us. But yeah, man, Jay, we at the 2 hour and 5 minute mark, man. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a day on this particular show. Shout out to Jake Donavan for joining the show. We're gonna try to get Jake on once a month to just really talk some of the details that's currently going on in the sport. Again, Jake has been doing this for a very long time. Jake has connections that we don't have. We do have some connections, but not nearly as many as Jake has. And so, yeah, we're going to try to get him on once a month to really talk about some of the details that's currently going on in the sport relative to just, fights being made and things that he's hearing that's currently going on that he can actually share with the broader audience. There's going to be some things he's going to share with us directly that we won't share with you guys. But, I mean, it is what it is. Again, appreciate you guys for joining the chat. We got 175 people in the building. Guys, hit the like button before you leave. Please hit the like button before you leave. If you have not, hit the like button so other people can find this content. And salute to number one. We got to salute everybody that rock with us. Manager Marty, Fanon, who else? Showboatin', T Ward of the Mic Check podcast. Damn, who else? I'm sorry. I'm losing somebody, right, Jay? Definitely Athletic Minds, who's now part of the family, man. I appreciate bruh, man, for being open-minded and connecting with us and just a cool dude, man. So appreciate him. Are we missing somebody? Oh, the Boxing Voice. Y'all go check them out. And yeah, man, we just very appreciative of everybody that rock with us. We got content on the channel currently. I think we put 4 videos up today, so make sure you go check those out. And we'll have content all this week, man, and we'll be ready to talk about whatever's new in the sport. So appreciate you guys again. Oh, and make sure you guys go follow us on Twitter, man. Go follow us on Twitter. What's my Twitter feed, Jay? I don't even know. What's your Twitter, Jay? What's your Twitter? Drop your Twitter.
I'm just getting used to. It's hard for me to get used to Twitter.
Yeah, Jason is an old man. He struggles with Twitter. You guys check out. This is my Twitter right there. When you get the opportunity, guys, click on that and yeah, subscribe, guys. Subscribe. We welcome it. Athletic Minds literally did a video on our basically, I for lack of a better word, trolling us in terms of our pick for Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. And he was just on our show because we don't mind people challenging us. It's about boxing community. We want you guys to come in and be a part of the community. And you can challenge us. We'll definitely challenge you. I have very strong opinions. You might like them. You might not. I'm very polarizing. But, hey, it is what it is. And, man, we just want you guys to come in and be a part of the family. So click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and you guys will be getting content from us this week. So appreciate you guys, and until next time, peace.